This podcast is brought to you by the team at New Zealand Trucking Magazine. Remember to get your hands on the latest issue from your favourite retailer or subscribe now at nztrucking.co.nz.
Keep on Moving, the official podcast of New Zealand Trucking Media. Here's Dave McCoy and Murray Lindsay.
It is the Keep On Moving podcast, episode 28. Did you ever think we'd get to 28, Dave?
28. What an amazing number. It's taken us a while. It certainly hasn't taken us 28 months, Muzz, but we're in the groove now. It's a whole new scene. It's 2024 and we're on episode 2028, and so the goal will basically be to episode 39 by the end of the year.
I think so, at least. And of course, this is the first one for 2024. So
I suppose it is, really.
Oh, yeah, she's a meaty old episode too, can I say. We'll get to what we call a beautiful noise in just a moment. I'm not allowed to give any clues, am I?
You're not allowed to give any clues, Murray. And
even the start.
A keen ear should be able to hear that exactly what this engine is, that it's something just slightly untoward.
Speaking of slightly untoward, blokes yarning. We've got Carl and Gav in action.
Yep.
Anything in particular you're covering off in there?
Well, the further these blokes yarning goes along, the more we're expecting a van with a padded room in the back to come and take us all away. They're very fruitful and entertaining 40-odd minutes that we have, and we cover off a few things this month that are pertinent to the time and all of that sort of thing. Yeah.
Okay, well, then we move on to, of course, our feature interview, and once again, another special one, Dave.
This is exciting. No, this is very exciting. Like this, especially for people that have been in the magazine since the start. And obviously, February is the month that Kenworth, New Zealand, celebrated the marque's 100 years in existence. And so I wanted a real good guts and glory interview for that. And I got a couple of absolute rippers sitting across the table from me, and to relay some great stories of big trucks, big loads, and hard men working long hours.
Carol McCready's along too. We've got a very big conference next month, Dave.
Yeah, we have the Teletrack Navman Technical Maintenance and Safety Conference in Christchurch, and I am really looking forward to this because I think it's going to sort of reset the bar on conferences. I know the technical maintenance and safety conferences that they run in Melbourne are incredibly popular and deliver more than, people associate conference and, let's face it, quite often the word conference is associated with the word yawn, isn't it? But these things are different. They give the delegates real useful takeaways for their business and I think we're going to reset the standard and create something that's going to gather some impetus really quickly.
I had the chance to chat with a friend of yours, Mike Isle, about trailers and other things, and we're going to incorporate that. Thank you for letting me incorporate that into the podcast, Dave. I didn't want it all about you.
It's your podcast too, Muzz. It's both of our monikers on the logo. You know that. But let's duck back. So you talked to the great raconteur himself from Northland, the great weaver of yarns, about his latest book for the TTMF.
I know. What an interesting man. And thank you for introducing me to him.
On a scale you can't comprehend.
Well, I mean, the interview could have gone for hours if we'd got onto his time with Rob Muldoon, but we just kept to trucks. And speaking of keeping to trucks, Tyrewise is something that's going to affect everyone, not just truck drivers into the future, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is going to eventually, in time, not just yet. We're sort of starting off at car tyres, truck tyres, trailer tyres and machinery tyres, but it will eventually get down to your mobility scooter or your electric e-scooter that you buy from the shop, and that is the need to compensate at purchase of the new product the end-of-life task for the product once it has run its course. And so, yeah, it was very interesting and neat. Neat conversation with Adele Rose on that. It's always really cool when you talk to somebody and they really know the subject and they're very relaxed and the answers just trip off and you think, well, this person is right across the subject, and it actually gives you confidence in the program itself.
Jack Smith, diversity champions along to wrap the podcast up.
Well, they always say that sunshine invokes good mood and good cheer in people, and we know how much sunshine the Marlborough region gets, and Jack Smith she's the exemplar of all of that. Like, you really encounter the level of enthusiasm and absolute joy to be in road transport that came through from Jack's, which then in turn makes her the perfect diversity champion for the region, and advocating all of what trucking and road transport offers in terms of positions and what every single person you can think of can do in the industry.
Dave, we have a beautiful noise. Any clues? It's a truck.
Any clues? It's a truck. That's exactly right. Is this the reveal time, is it?
No, good, no. We'll do that at the end.
Righto.
I've got a couple of hours to wait.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Okay.
All right, stand by for the blokes yarning, and I'll be back with you in a minute, Dave.
3 blokes yarning. There are 2 in the North Island where it's warm and balmy, and there's one in the deep south where it's they've just had snow at Cadrona that I'm well informed, and there's a brisk southerly blowing into the southern quarters, Captain Carl.
Yes. Weather report from the deep south. I can tell you that, yes, there is some white stuff up on the caps, and Cadrona is looking at opening up the 2024 ski season a little earlier this year.
Jeepers.
Yeah. Just a tad early.
Did you take your skis down from Auckland, Carl?
Yeah. No. Got that. Yeah. Absolutely. No, we're fully well equipped, ready for all adverse weather conditions and so on. But I will have you know, the locals are getting around wearing jeans today, and I'm wearing shorts. How about that?
Well, you're feeling bullish, and
yes.
Good on you. Good on you. Fist pump from 1,500 kilometres away, and they think you're a complete lunatic.
No. It's like spot the North Islander.
Yeah. That's what it's going to be. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. There's another one. Look at that.
So how did the epic transition go from north to south?
Oh, look, absolutely faultless. It was the mighty surf. Pulled the good care all the way, mate. Didn't even flinch, not a drop of oil or water or anything like that. No punctures, nothing untoward. And I didn't even have a loose rope on my tarp. How about that? She was just picture perfect. Couldn't have asked for a better journey. And the weather behaved itself as well. How about that? So you couldn't ask for more.
Carl, I've seen you load a trailer and cover it and strap it down when we went to Wanaka, and there'd be more chance of a gold brick escaping from Fort Knox than anything falling off a loaded...
Hey, mate, we were taught by the Jedi Masters of Tarping, though. Come on.
The Jedi Masters of Tarping. Yeah.
May the Force be with you, Captain Carl.
Yeah.
I have taught you well.
Yeah, so yes, another big month, boys. So good Christmas, good New Year, and all those sorts of things. How did it all go?
Oh, have we had it?
It doesn't feel like it.
Have we had it?
You've done it?
Straight back into
you've
it,
been
hard
there,
at
done
it.
that?
Oh, God, yeah, it's a distant memory now. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, it's been and gone, but I mean, it was enjoyable. And,
yes.
Yeah,
very good.
Yeah, holidays were good.
Yep.
Christmas was good.
Went to the top of the South Island, did a bit of what we normally do, and it was all very good and very sunny and generally good weather, and had some great little high points like Paul O'Callaghan, the great nomadic truck driving, journalistic, photographing, wandering enthusiast who roams the globe, living the life that we all dreamed of as kids. He was passing through Nelson at Christmas time, and so we spent a couple of nights with him and friends, and he was at our stayed at the Macaulay's for a couple of nights as well. So no, it was bloody
I saw him down here in the mighty Peterworth, the Honda. He ventured into Eden and caught up with Phil and everything like that as well, and that sort of carry on. Had a good old chin wag and a chat with him there, and he seemed to be enjoying himself. He was wearing shorts as well, I'll have you know, and a singlet. How about that?
Yeah, but look where he comes from.
Yeah.
Like, oh, bloody hell. Jeebus, look where he... Oh.
We were talking about the Pilbara, though, whereas, I mean, we all know that, he heads up in those directions and so on, and does his bits for, his Australian road train adventures and so on, and we were talking about the fact that they were tipping 50 degrees the other day or something we heard. Did you guys hear that?
Yeah, I saw that. Jeepers, could you imagine?
Yeah. 50-odd degrees in the Pilbara, mate. Now that's going to be hot.
I'm not made of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, when we were in Birdsville, Birdsville is lower southwest Queensland, where South Australia, Queensland and Northern Territory all meet, probably within 100 k's of Birdsville. It's like in the middle of nowhere, because New Zealanders have no idea what the middle of nowhere actually means. And the guy there was telling Craig and I that that was the summer of 2017. They'd had 60 days over 50 or something.
Oh, jeepers creepers. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
unreal,
fascinating trip. Yeah. Oh, well. Yeah. So, what have we got to talk about? Three Blokes Yarning. But what should we talk about? Should we talk about publications, or should we talk about what's been happening?
There's lots to talk about. The year's been off to a busy start, eh?
Oh, and the end of the year was busy, and so
Yeah, and 24 straight back into it.
Let's start with publications. February. Yep. Over to the editor of New Zealand Trucking Magazine, Gavin Myers, on the February 24 issue.
Yeah, and that's one for the Kenworth faithful, you have to say, in line with Southpac's celebration of Kenworth's 100 years last year, happening in Feb at Mystery Creek. We've gone all out to honour the brand, and we've picked a few key interesting stories and key interesting trucks. Probably top of the pile, not to pick favourites or anything like that, but top of the pile on the cover this month, Guy Knowles K220. At long last.
Guy Knowles K220. Yep, on the cover. So that's a great customer for the brand, and presents his trucks incredibly well, and known him for a very long time, and does road transport, does line haul road transport incredibly well. He was podcast feature interview a few podcasts back, probably episode 5 or 6 maybe, was keep a look at, and you can go back and listen to the Guy Knowles podcast. But he and Helen, just the loveliest people, really, fantastically welcoming and inspirational, and runs a great operation with really cool trucks, and I think a very, very worthy cover story for our acknowledgement of the February 100 years.
He's very much the trucker's trucker, wouldn't you say?
As passionate about it as he was when he first started. Yep, still completely immersed in everything that's great about trucking. Yeah, no, I mean, that's just one of those things. He's just sort of timeless, you look, as you've in the story, sort of talk back about razor sharp and that sort of thing, and he's just everything. Yeah, it's that
he loves about trucking is just nothing's changed. Day in day out he's doing the same thing, and he does it all. It's all about passion. It's all about love of the industry, and and serving the client, and delivering. Just delivering on promises, and delivering full stop. But he's you look at his history and his heritage. It's nothing's changed. It's the same recipe, and he just enjoys every blooming minute of it.
That Carl, tip of the hat there, for that was one of the best summations. At Timeless would be one of the best summations I've ever heard around Guy. And the other thing is like there's completely and utterly welcoming with that. There's no if you're interested and want a yarn to him, mate, he's up for a yarn on a scale you can't comprehend, mate. He sees nothing in the trucks that there's no, he's completely on the ground with anyone who wants to have a yarn about his trucks, and just that's just the people they are. Yep.
And absolute pride and presentation in the gear. Just mint.
Yep.
Yeah. Episode 5 that was of the Keep On Moving podcast.
Was it episode 5? Yep. The Guy Knowles interview. Yep. Right.
Yeah.
What else is in the editor?
Cole, you did a great story on a W95 legend, Smokey and the Bandit style.
Yeah. Look, Charlie Bailey. So how we found out about that one was it was right back when it was sort of sort of like a glint in his eye. His dad, Rob Bailey, who's like many years behind the wheel and very well known in the industry, he had a truck that we featured in the Million Mile Club. And anyway, he was a very humble man, and he was over the moon that we were featuring his truck in the magazine and so on. And he said, if you like my one, you're going to love my son's one. And he's a builder. And I said, really? I said, that's interesting. I said, a builder? I said, what's he buying? I said, thinking like a Chevy or a GMC or something. No. He's got a W925 AR Kenworth coming from Australia with a sleeper and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what? So the story unfolded. Charlie is a construction, he's a builder in Auckland with a construction company that he owns with another guy. They've got a big team of boys on the go, and all sorts of projects and that. But he's a real hot rod enthusiast, and motorbikes, and all that sort of carry on bits and pieces, and he custom builds for different people and that. But as a sideline, as a hobby thing. And anyway, the trucking for him goes way back. He used to ride around with Dad in a little brown jug, combined back in the day. And there's all that is in the story. But the bottom line is that he had always wanted a truck to do a truck build, and this is it. He's finally done it. He wanted something that he could he had the problem where he'd go to a hot rod show and he could only drive one car or ride one bike. And he thought, I want to take more to the show. And so I need a trailer, so I need a truck, and that's what's happened. He's put this thing together, and I mean, those that have seen it, there's a video clip kicking around of it, and it's featured in many Facebook posts and so on and so on. But
all over the place.
I mean, we sat down with him for a good 3 hours, had a good old chinwag and a chat in his workshop, and just talked about the history and where it all came from, and a real keen trucking and transport enthusiast through the time he spent with his dad, and now he's enjoying that time again with his dad, on the hobby front sort of a thing. So, great read, great story, great guys, and they're going to be at the Gate Up 100. It'll be pride of place there and on display. So if you getting along there and going to go wandering around and you come across that truck and you find Charlie, stop and have a chat. You won't regret it. Great guy.
Yeah, sticking with bonneted Kenworths, Alison Barron did a great story on T909 for RMD. A bit of a surprise for Mark Shearson. 2 years in the making. 2 years in the making. They kept it a surprise from him, secret from him for all that time, and presented it to him at the company's celebration last year, October. So that whole story is in there. How you keep a truck a surprise in a country like New Zealand with all its truck spotters.
And Alison's done a fantastic job on that you know, you can always tell when it's
Yeah.
done well when you're reading it and it's coming to the zenith and you start getting creepy skin and goosebumps.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
when they were talking
Yeah.
about and he was holding the number plate and they all knew what was
Yeah.
behind the door and he didn't, and you're going, oh my God, you're about to scream in the office and all you're doing is reading the story. Like,
The story.
Look, it was just like, I'd love to have like seen the look on his face when the door went up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because they
Yeah.
they sort of did it in two parts. They presented him with a plate for the truck, which he thought was for his ute. And as the story goes, he was wrapped with that. And then all of a sudden, the door goes up, and there's this big Nino with its nose poking into the
yeah.
Yeah.
into the hall. And
Yeah.
yeah, great story. And then something very unusual, a bit of a trucks in action piece. Where entitled "Where There's No Road, There Is a Way."
Yes.
Yes.
And we did
Something very different.
We did this. Craig and I accompanied Craig McCauley on this one just before Christmas. I tagged along because I'd always wanted to go up into the roads of the Sounds and see what they're like, and of course the barge ride on the truck, which the story unfolds because the road's buggered now, so they're trucking they're barging the trucks in, and but oh my good grief, Ben Fletcher on the that parks Kenworth, and like, you know, the Coromandel roads are pretty gnarly, but the Marlborough Sounds roads, especially when the tar seal runs out at the foot of Mount Stokes, and the surface that he drove that thing over is just, well, it is actually a goat track in a lot of places, and just getting that thing up and over there and then back out and over there loaded, and that like big tickets on Ben, just fantastic, and tickets on the brand, and just some of the corners are like top of the Coromandel sort of stuff where, you know, you've got to keep the pace on, otherwise it's going to end not very good. And fantastic story, and Trucks in Action, our new sort of semi-regular series as we find them, about trucks going to extraordinary places and doing the extraordinary hard yards in the course of their work, and this was a fantastic one to kick it off with.
Yeah, no, it certainly was a good read. There's no two ways about it. It's one to catch everyone. It's great photography as well. So it's a well-rounded story. Absolutely.
I took the video gear out and we've made a video, and I said to Gav, give us the drone, and he said goodbye to the drone because it was probably the last time he thought he was going to see.
Lost in the Marlborough Sounds forever.
How hard can these things be to fly? But even I sort of put a stake in the ground when we were in the water taxi chasing along the side of the barge with the truck on it, and Craig said, Charlie, can you take the drone off and film it and then land it back on the water taxi as we're steaming along? I was like, no. No. If I do that, then you'll hear a very small splash, and that will be...
The way to counter that is just say, yes, absolutely, if you're prepared to pay for it if it goes horribly wrong. And then see how keen he is.
Yeah, and then of course he pulled out, you know, one of the great Craig McCauley lines that, you know, looks at you and goes, "What sort of a pilot are you?" Yeah, which I was very willing to say an absolutely appalling one, to be honest.
Yeah.
To be fair, I don't think I would have attempted that.
Go on, Gav, of course you are.
Geez.
There, land it back on a moving boat. How hard can it be? Splash.
Splash, yeah, exactly.
Famous last words. So that's a real highlight of Kenworth this issue. Obviously, there's some other stuff
transport,
as well.
Top truck.
Oh, top truck. God, that's two podcasts in a row. I've forgotten the top truck.
You're fired. Okay, you're rehiding.
you need someone to fly the drone.
That's right. We did this one over Christmas too, and this is a measure. This is the measure of the woman that Craig and I are both respectively married to, when you can actually go away on New Year's Eve to do a top truck shoot and not be seen until next year, the day late the day after. But how worth it was it? Fantastic truck in a fantastic place doing fantastic work, owned by fantastic people. Graham Bill's just just that really neat, again, you know, you all know me and Southland Rural Cartage, you know, and a real neat truck. His two sons just absolutely just flipping out
Yeah,
over the fact that a brand new K200's turned up in the yard. And I love the way they've gone for it's not blinged out to buggery.
Oh,
it's very clean. It's
subtle, clean. As Craig says in the story, traditional.
Oh,
it's just
and it's got the matching toolboxes down one side, and then the matching diesel and def tank down the other.
Side. Yeah, I love that.
It's just awesome. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, very neat and a great poster shot, Mr. McCauley. Yeah, very good.
Yeah, great
poster
carrying the trucks in action theme. Yep. So February 24. It's definitely an issue not to be missed in the history of road carriage in the country.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. So just like we did for the Mac 50th, we've done the same for the Kenworth 100.
Oh, good segue there, Captain K, too, and I haven't got this noted down. And just like we did for the Mac 50th, we will be doing a highlights book from our archives through the years, hardcover, with a few extra bits and pieces that won't have been seen for this year. But we're going to, it won't be out till a bit after February because we're going to include the last 15 pages will be the coverage of the event on Waitangi Day and the ins and outs and roundabouts of that. So that'll be a must-have for the shelves because there's some aspects of, you probably won't get around all 800 and something trucks in the time that you had.
Yeah.
I think to have done it, you would have had, by the time this goes to air, she'll be all over, but you would have had to have done about 2.3 trucks a minute, I think.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's
if they all turn up, that's what you're going to be doing. Keep it moving.
That's a challenge for the most ardent truck spider.
And look, huge tip of the hat for what Southpac are doing in terms of the scale that they're undertaking to celebrate their product. Like, you don't, the budget for this thing must be off the charts.
Can you imagine?
And so it's just a great reflection of what they think of the product and what the product means to them.
Am I correct in saying it's the biggest one make show, something along those lines?
There's all sorts of stats floating around, but
it's just, it's going to be huge.
Interesting to see.
Absolutely crazy.
But it's a fantastic. They're throwing their one of their big brands a magnificent party that's well worthy of its contribution to New Zealand road transport, I think. Anyway, that's me.
Yeah.
There
you go.
Excellent. Righto, well, that's got that sort of done. Okay, what's been happening since we last met over the Christmas period? I've got the good, the bad, and the between. I was going to go the good, the bad, and the ugly. I was going to go the good, the bad, but I've got some things that I'm a little bit dollar each way on. So I'll start off with good news. The State Highway 25A bridge that bridged the slip on the Kopu-Hikawai Road was finished before Christmas in time for the holiday traffic, in full, under budget, early.
Can you believe it?
Yeah.
Fantastic job, really.
It can be done.
Yeah, and actually the Thames Coromandel have actually got a bit of a track record going here because the new Kopu Bridge, the big arch bridge across the Waio River into Kopu, that was done under budget, under time.
Yeah, that's right, it was.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
And and then of course in the finest traditions of breath wasters, we then had graffiti artists turn up and graffiti the shit out of it just after it was over.
Within days.
Is that right?
Yep. And words don't fail me, but if I say the words that I want to say through the microphone, we'll probably get a barrage of of abuse from people who support losers.
Yeah.
Keep it light and happy, Dave.
Keep it light and happy. Keep it light and happy.
Yeah.
No, but fantastic facility, great bridge.
Yep. Yeah, job well done there. Job well done.
Yep. Fantastic. We had some New Year's Honours recipients that we all know appear in the list this year. Trevor Hawkins of Martinborough Transport Patriarchy got a Queen's Service Medal, and so that I was just thrilled with that, because that basically says it all, doesn't it? Like, what he's displayed in the community is obviously exactly the same thing as he's displayed within the family, and look, both have benefited. I mean, that man's a giant, isn't he, really?
Yeah, but you just, to meet him in person and have a chat with him, he's just like your best uncle ever. He's just one of those guys that just, you just chinwag and chat about anything, and he's dead keen and enthusiastic and just wants to hear what you got to say and offers what he's got. He's just like, there's just an energy there that is just, I think I'm damn sure that they've tapped into the fountain of youth down there somewhere. There's some water running out of Mungerton Oak somewhere or something like that. Just not, they must bottle as they go past and drink or something, because they're just salt of the earth. There you go. I said it.
There you go. Yep. Far out. He's got the Salt of the Earth Award too. The Carl Kirkbeck Salt of the Earth Award.
Salt of the Earth.
Yep. That's actually very prestigious, because the only people who have actually got that award is pretty much every other person on the planet.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Yeah.
And of course, our very own, and I say that our very own Lindsay Wood, who
real friend of the magazine,
magazine, an unlikely ally of the magazine, as he often says himself. But that's a reflection of his understanding of how the wheels of commerce and how the country actually works, in the bounds of what he is into, which is obviously climate advocacy and environmental protection and low waste and high productivity and efficiency and things like that. But he also gets how shit gets from the paddock to your pantry.
Yeah, and he's willing to have a conversation about it.
Oh, and willing to have a conversation about it. And here's both sides. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And absolutely devoted to that cause. Like, that member of the New Zealand Order of Merit Awards that he won was so well deserved, because he throws himself at that, and most of it's voluntary. Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
And just another great bugger to know.
Yeah, he is.
Fantastic guy.
Yeah. So congratulations, Lindsay and Trevor.
Yeah, that's right.
Well deserved.
Cook Strait ferries.
Which ones?
Which ones? The Inter-Islander replacements specifically. Yeah.
Oh.
Which ones?
Yeah, which ones? Yeah.
So we're not getting those anymore, by the looks of things?
No.
Well, not the original ones that were on the cards anyway over the last year or so.
Yep. Thoughts on it, Gavin?
Well, we need new ferries, don't we?
Do we need new ferries? Like ferries. No
I mean, we need at least a new ferry, but I mean, yes, it doesn't make any sense getting ferries that don't fit into your harbours and don't fit up to...
but all that really is they'd have to turn around a little bit further out and back a little bit further in.
Yeah, I suppose.
But it was the budget blowouts that caused it.
Yeah, well, what was the budget? Was it 1.4 billion or something along those lines? I think.
They wanted that increase to
Yeah.
Captain K, what are you thinking?
Oh, look, I mean, God, I mean, it's been going on for millennia, and it's, the boats are just getting older and older and older. They've got to do something. I mean, the ones that they had lined up, I mean, I'd just love to be, sort of at a board meeting or whatever it is, like a planning meeting at Hyundai, and hear them talking about us and the fact, the bloody cancelled order and the build slot or whatever and that sort of thing. I mean, it must, you shake your head, don't you? I mean, I suppose they probably get that all the time though. But but I mean, it's just it's such a key piece of infrastructure, and it's only getting busier. It's not getting any. Every sailing seems to be more full, more time constraints, and this has got to get across. It's got to get across. And there's the amount of stuff that's been moved between the two islands now is just colossal. And the queues that you see down there. So for them to sit in the office there and look at that and sort of deem that not a worthy investment, where is it going wrong? Is it must be paying for itself, or is that where the issue lies? Is I mean, what they're charging to take a unit across, is that not correct? Is it being subsidised or something like that? It doesn't feel like it when you see the bloody bills that some of the guys are paying, and that's the thing, on a monthly basis for their bloody units to go backwards and forwards. But, surely it's a business and surely it should be making money. Where's it going wrong? Okay, Blue Bridge are running, older boats and that's the carry on, but at the end of the day, how many years is it now since the decision was made to buy a boat and put it on the bloody water and provide a service? And it's still going, and they seem to be, they wouldn't be doing it if they weren't making a buck out of it. So where the heck is Inter Islander going wrong? Is the question I've got. But I don't know. It is a big bill, but to cancel both of them, maybe you would have modified one and kept one on the order, on the order sheet or something, and then stagger it, maybe 5 or 6 years time, put another one on, or I don't know.
Because it is crucial. We've spoken about it before. It is an extension of State Highway 1.
Absolutely.
It is the link between the two islands for road and rail traffic. So it needs to be done. The information I have in front of me says the blowout was primarily due to the development of the port facilities in Picton and Wellington rather than the two ships themselves.
Who cares?
Which is interesting. But, in that, do you not want to, it again comes down to infrastructure. Do we not want to advance our infrastructure and future-proof those ports?
I know.
If you don't do it now, it's going to have to happen at some stage.
Exactly.
Isn't that an interesting...
And at high cost.
But isn't that an interesting comment you just made just a second ago? The thing is that the blowout was more so the New Zealand side of the equation, not the actual not the boats which are coming in from. It sounds like what you've just said then is that they were sticking to budget and they were capable of keeping to budget and building them without a blowout. What is it with New Zealand infrastructure where every bloody thing we do now seems to be there's a blowout? Everything's, okay, the bridge over at the Cape of Hikuai, and that amazingly, that's coming under budget or something, so they say, and that's fantastic, great, well done, if that's the truth, and it's, but everything we seem to do is just blowout, where does it go wrong? There's got to be some big questions, but and I suppose maybe that's what, our good new Prime Minister is actually doing, he's applying that the business head to it finally and actually saying, hang on, nah, this ain't going to wash.
Yeah, but the first thing he does is bin the ferries.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's right.
And you're dead right, Captain K, about it's only going to get busier, but the problem is at the moment it's getting busier and more decrepit by the day.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, this is the road rail link between the two halves of our country.
That's right.
Like it's the old, it's my old theory on the climate change things where the people are getting broiled in it. Don't put a big sign on the foyer reminding them of what the hell is actually the core thing. They should have a massive big sign in the beehive to do with infrastructure and say that is the only railroad link that joins the two halves of our country. Keep going back to that, and so. And look, Luxon, super businessman, costs, I'm going to keep costs under control. There's going to be no more blowouts. But is this really the one to flex the muscle on? Because now we've gone back. Now we're going to probably end up with shitty leased ships. We're going to, we had the opportunity to fix this problem for the next 25 years. All we would have to do going forward is add another big boat in there at some stage in 10 or 12 years' time if we needed it, and we fix it for another 10 years.
Yeah, that's
right. He's come in at a time where that piece of infrastructure is as screwed and poked as every other bit of infrastructure in the country, and it's super critical because it is the only road rail link between our two, that divides the two halves of our country, and binned it.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do now in a hurry to fix it? There is no fast solution. And the thing that really pissed me off with it is we throw so much money to the wind on just worthless piffle. And yet I'd have said to them, right, okay, right, here's the budget, here's your new amount. That is actually it. There is no more this time. And I'd immediately given them 100 million more than they'd asked for. And say, that is absolutely it. I want these 2 boats and I want these 2 ports delivered with that money. And then we fix something. We've actually fixed something. We can turn away from that. And when you look at its cost benefit over the next 30 years in terms of the tonnage of freight that will be shifted, the extra amounts, piss all. It's nothing. When you think of the economic dependence on that stretch of water in those boats, the extra money was nothing.
Yep, that's right.
So when there's a situation when all 3 are tied up at dock, then
then your extra your extra $250 million is going to look pretty pissy, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
You know, while we're all sitting here waiting for some tub to grind its way from Spain, some second-hand bloody English Channel crossing bloody thing that's just, and it's just like, oh, okay, right. So here, we just continue to have not fixed something.
Yeah.
Speaking of fixing something, the Brindewans.
Yeah, so I'm $1 each way on this one. I get it. I understand everything about the frustration and the time. But if they can come in under budget and under time and deliver Northland a road link that's worthy of the road link Northland deserves and can get it done as fast as possible without, when you look at the road between Waihi and Tauranga, and we've spent 9 years grinding our way to Tauranga with 57 sets of 50k roadworks. Like the last time I would have driven a truck or a car directly to Tauranga at pace at the road limit would have been almost a decade ago. And
that's a scary thought.
So if they can hook into the Brindewans, be left alone for 2 months, hit it with every big piece of earth moving equipment they can, and fix the bastard thing once and for all, so Northland has a road link worthy of what Northland deserves, then just get in and do it.
Absolutely, yeah. Just take the short term pain and inconvenience.
Yeah,
and focus on the bigger picture, get the job done.
Yep, and that certainly wasn't the case with the ferries. I would suggest to offer. Ending on So go on, Captain K.
No, I'm just like, that's exactly it. You do tend to start wondering, like, if the general theme of how things are going to be run has been sort of laid down with the decision made on the ferries and so forth for the rest of infrastructure in New Zealand, what is the next 3 years going to look like?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, Luxon's on notice to deliver something. If he's going to bin the ferries at the 11th hour like this, and then something pretty bloody good better turn up pretty bloody quick.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
So ending on a good note, Truck of the Year Australasia 2024 is upon us. As soon as I finish this Zoom meeting, I'm into another one to talk to my fellow judges about the 20. We've got 3 hot contenders. We've got the Scania Super Series, the Western Star X Series, and the Volvo FH or F Series electrics.
Yeah, what do we think about electrics?
Well, you'll have to wait and see what we think about electrics, Gavin Myers. You'll just have to wait and see. There's no crowbarring it out of me yet.
13th March, that's the date of the award.
Oh, yes, because we're going to do it at the
TMS conference in Christchurch.
In conference. And so I'll be talking to Carol a little later on in this podcast about how progress is going on that. That'll be a great event. And so, more to report shortly.
But yes, 3 very worthy contenders. Going to be very interesting to see which way it goes.
It will be.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting chat for the next podcast.
And I've driven them all, and I will reveal my driving thoughts once the thoughts that drive me. So straight after we're finished here, which will be very shortly, because as I've said, we've got a podcast, a Zoom meeting to go to about the Truck of the Year, but we have got the Mike's Transport Warehouse feature interview for the podcast coming up shortly, brought to you by, as I've just said, Mike's Transport Warehouse. We are talking we had a fantastic response a couple of years ago to Ron McLean's story on the early days of RMD and the big Kenworths and Ian Rorison's, and the response we got from that and the feedback he's had from people who read that story has just been amazing. So Ron is going to relay pretty much the voice version of the story plus other tidbits.
Other tidbits.
Tidbits.
That we couldn't print.
Yep, for the so that we have a sort of a Kenworth-esque theme lined up for the February podcast, and at the same month that the celebration's happening. So
nice.
A great old gutsy Kenworth, bloody Yep, and as I say, brought to you by that feature interview is incredibly well supported by our friends at Mike's Transport Warehouse, and we have their latest. Mailer and front.
February mailer.
Yes, and so Carl's going to buy 8,000 personally monogrammed mud flaps.
Mud flaps? Yep, yep, that's me. Yeah, I am. I'm going to place my order. Yeah. No, that. But what? I mean, hey, far out. That is something. You know, that custom mud flaps. There you go. $33 each, starting from. Minimum order of 50 identical mud flaps, but personalised with your own logo and branding and colours and everything like that on the. That's just incredible.
Yep, and I've just told Anna we're going to buy 24 more car trailers.
Yeah,
that's what custom New Zealand trucking mud flaps. Oh man!
Hey, look, there you go, New Zealand trucking mud flaps. That's a line for the merchandise.
Yeah, we should get them to run up a set of New Zealand trucking. Wow, mate!
Trailer mud flaps.
You actually get an increased rating of 250 kgs on your trailer if you put those mud flaps on.
If you put those mud flaps on, and an extra 135 horsepower and 25. Newton meters of torque.
Yeah, and you get a skull gear changer head for the.
Yeah, but do we get a yellow and red button for the dashboard?
Only you would do that. Yeah.
There you go.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But it's always a little bit of a man love thing when your buddy will whipping through you see things. I'd like some of those.
I know.
Rhino stainless steel guards. Stainless steel guards. Ooh.
Hey. Yes, no, it's all there. That's definitely worth a look through this month. That's for sure. There's some goodies.
Now, Gavin, just for poking the bear, he said he went and circled pop up road cones.
New Zealand is the land of the ongoing orange road cone, after all. Yeah. And you can have your very own pull-up, pop-up road cone from Mike's Transport Warehouse this month. Featuring an interior light for night use and a flash option.
Well, they'd be handy in the house because, like, when the mother-in-law come to visit, you could put them around her to keep the children away. Like,
that's right.
To warn them of a dangerous area.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Exactly.
But no, in all seriousness, I do think that's a pretty nifty device, actually. For your truck yard or I suppose any other domestic application, as Dave points out.
Have you had the fifth vaccine?
The fifth.
Have you had the fifth vaccine, Gavin?
Well, we're going down the conspiracy road,
but I just want to.
I suppose you could have if there was no, we're not going to go there. No. Backpedal. No. I was just going to say there's certain sort of marks out there that might need those in their boot of their vehicle or something like that. But we won't start naming marks because then we'll get slammed.
Yes, I think you'll be get a one-way ticket to Slope Point and beyond if you.
But there are certain vehicles out there where that would actually be quite a handy thing to have in the boot because of their reliability and their. We'll leave that for viewers' discretion and viewers' decision and viewers' input.
But more on the clearance page of the pamphlet this month. Some detailers and custom cleaners and wheel cleaners and sealants from Wicked. Those are going for a steal. And much more besides.
I like that Hella Micro LED halogen work lamp close range.
That's pretty cool.
It is. Yeah. And I think I'm going to nominate the LED light just as a thing, like not that, like I'm talking about the LED light in the next Queen's Birthday Honours list. Because I don't think anything has been more such a gift from heaven to road transport in the last 30 years than the LED light.
Yeah.
That's right. To vehicles in general, actually, you're going to set me going here because, as you know, I've got a thing for vehicles with good headlights.
Yeah.
And LED technology in in modern day vehicles is just, oh man, I mean, you couldn't do without it. You wouldn't want to replace any of those units in the case of an accident, but yeah, I mean, just the technology is outstanding.
But just the fact that, like, on a B train truck and trailer, starting at 3 a.m. or whatever, and you switch it on, and the light 99.99 times out of 100, the light will come on, and if it doesn't, it's not the light's fault.
and it's good quality light.
Oh,
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Mike's Transport Warehouse. Get down there, call them, email them. Get in touch with them. There's endless amounts of stuff in this month's pamphlet. And why would you go anywhere else? 3 Blokes Yarning on the podcast, episode 28. I've got a Zoom meeting to go to. My fellow judges are waiting for me. It's been a pleasure, gentlemen, to have you here as normal, and we look forward to relaying the great stories of the Kenworth 100 years in the next podcast, and what we got up to and what happened and all of the great things that went on the Waitangi weekend.
This is another Trucking Radio 24/7 podcast in association with New Zealand Trucking Magazine.
Trucking Radio and the Keep On Moving podcast. We're at episode 28 of the Mike's Transport Warehouse feature interview on the podcast. And I've got to keep saying this because I'm going to sound like the boy that cried wolf, because, man, have we got a feature interview for you this month. This is going to be an absolute ripper, and it is going to be so popular, I can tell you now. This month, February 2024, obviously is a big month for Kenworth in New Zealand, where Southpac celebrate Kenworth's 100 years. It's New Zealand's turn to celebrate the birthday last year, and we're doing it this month in Waitangi weekend at Mystery Creek. And I wanted a really good, meaty, gutsy Kenworth, guts and glory, power, long hours of work, big trucks, going hard podcast feature interview. In the history of the magazine's 40 years, there's been 2 articles that have stood out hugely and in the history of the magazine. People my age who would remember one of the great road tests of all time, if not the greatest road test of all time in the magazine. One of the real big road test articles ever that just earned so many fans and had all of the young trucking aficionados and propeller heads and foamers like myself just on the edge of our seat, and we read it until the words fell off the page. And that was the December-January 1985 road test of the RMD W900 Kenworth, driven by Ken Forsythe, and recounting a day with him from the Mount down to Pew Pew, and then across to the Hawke's Bay, and then back to the Mount. And it had everything we wanted. It had a Kenworth, it had big engine, it had big power, it had experienced driver, it had the Napier Taupo Road, it had every single thing that truck foamers could possibly want. And not only that, but the opening photograph, the famous photograph of the big jackknife with the trailer right around beside the truck, and Ken dressed immaculately and looking like he was dressed to go to a wedding. It was the whole deal for us. It was the whole deal. And everyone listening to this that got that magazine as a young fella or a very young adult or a kid just will be going, yeah, we talk about that magazine all the time. Then, good friend of mine who I've known for a good many years now through associations, through work and mutual employers that we've worked for simultaneously in the same company, in the same group, Ron McLean, who was a driver at RMD quite early on in the TS3 comma days. He came down from Whangarei as a young boy, saw a line up of TS3 commas on Hewlett's Road and thought, that's a bit of me. Went up, left home, came back down to the mountain. The rest is history. And he transited through the tough times of the dairy downturn when RMD sort of had a bit of a retrench and a restructure and popped up again, with the main source of the business being the Serpentine mine at Aria, where they kicked things off again and began the generation of big Kenworths from there when they got back on their feet. And Ron contacted me, it would have been, 24 or almost 4 years ago now, and said, do you think, I've got a bit of a story I've been working on the early days of RMD and the Kenworth days. Do you think would you like to put that in the magazine? So when I came to from passing out, and said, you wonderful man, you send it through, and we put it in the December, and we put it in the double Christmas issue in 2020, and that article has probably been one of our most fed back articles ever. That was exactly what we as truck enthusiasts just want to read, and so you wouldn't believe it, but on this month, which is Kenworth's, the New Zealand celebration of the 100 years, I'm sitting in a house in Otamotai, and I have got Ron McLean and Ken Forsythe sitting over the table from me, and we're going to do basically the podcast verbal version, and we're just going to sit back and listen to great stories of big trucks working hard and long hours. One of the things that I will say that I've always picked up from the RMD story is, and I'm going to get I've been badgering my good mate Craig McCauley, a freelance journalist, truck driver and that for the magazine, because he's got an encyclopedic knowledge of outback Australian cattle trains and road trains and trucking, and I want to do an article on the greatest truck names in Australasia that have ever been assigned to trucks. And I think that the New Zealand arm of that, Ian Rorison and the Rorison's Mineral Development brand in those glory years, would take some heading off for truck names. They had some of the best truck names ever. Trucks like Fistful of Dollars, Easy Rider, the Clipper, the Hustler, the Power Game, the Spoiler, the Cool One, the Stirrer. It just goes on and on and on. And so everything about that company was cool, and I'm sure the names of those trucks will make a grand appearance in that article when it finally turns up. But we've got Ron and Ken here. We're going to start with Ron because he joined in 1976, about a year, 18 months, 2 years before Ken did. But we're going to pick the story up from the start of the Kenworth era at the mine at Aria, and 9 kilometres inland from Pew Pew. And we're going to start with Ron receiving a phone call from Ian Rorison saying that I've got a truck here, would you like to stop what you're doing and come back to the company, having been had a bit of a break in the downturn, and drive this truck. And did you take much convincing?
Took no convincing at all, actually, Dave. So, it was a dream, firstly, to drive a Kenworth, and secondly, to work for Rorison. So when I got that phone call, it was when can I start? So at that stage, that was the Spoiler. That was a glider kit that was made up in the workshop at Mount Maunganui. So that was the third truck in the fleet. So the first one was the cab over number 86. Funnily enough, Ian just kept on numbering his trucks from the early days. So the last Fiat would have been 3 numbers before that. So,
oh, okay, yeah. So when he picked up the truck thing again, he just kept the fleet numbers going.
Just kept the fleet numbers going.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Even though we only had number 86 was the first truck of the reprocessing of starting again, and when it was new, Gary Rorison drove it, and then when I started, Lee Goodall was driving number 86, and Mel Crothers was driving the Cool One, which was the first conventional single drive A-train. And so I started on that. I'll never forget the morning that I went with Marshall Rorison, Ian's youngest son, took me down to Aria on a Saturday morning to blood me in, and I just couldn't believe, going from a 1418 Mercedes to a 335, the power for a start, and Marshall sitting beside me saying, go faster, go faster, go faster, when it was a single drive pissing with rain. and all I wanted to do was just take my time and get a feel for it. So that was a Saturday morning. We shot down and got a load of serpentine, brought it back to what was known as BOP fertiliser at Mount Maunganui, now called Balance. And so that's what we did. We carted serpentine and lime out of the quarry at Aria. Serpentine went to the Kiwi Fertiliser Company in Morrinsville, New Zealand Farmers Fertiliser in New Plymouth, to BOP Fertiliser Mount Maunganui, East Coast Fertiliser at Napier, and also down to KP Fertiliser Maunganui.
Right.
So they were our day runs. No backloading in those days. We were just 50%. We'd go empty down to the quarry, get our load, and go take it to where it was going during the day, and then come back and pick up a second load to go wherever in the afternoon.
Right.
Yeah.
So serpentine is a magnesium
serpentine
additive to fertilizer, isn't it?
Yeah. So serpentine's a magnesium, 24% magnesium that goes into making serpentine super.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is it horrible shit to cart? Is it like abrasive and gritty, or what's its constitution? Is it?
It's just green and dusty. Green and dusty. Yeah. So it's a rock that's mined out of the quarry and area, and crushed down to really fine particle size. And
so does it run all right when you're tipping it off, or
too fast?
Oh, does it just pour out?
You have to let your covers go, otherwise you would suck your pole and just come out in one lump. Yeah.
And what about when it's wet? Does it cling to the side? Do you have to get in and get in with the shovel and get going?
Well, you just got to realise back in those days there was no cover. The quarry, the mud would get up to the up to this bottom of your wheels, your rims, and we used to have to go into that quarry like at about 50 kilometres an hour to get to where we were going in a single drive, and sledge our way in there and get if it was raining, which happens often in the King Country.
Yes, it does.
And you roll your cover forward. There was no cover. There was no shed to get under. You just had to put up with a wet deck and load up.
Yeah.
And that was you'd load up either under the bin, or if there's nothing in the bin, overhead bin, you'd have to load up. With the Huff 90 loader, had no windscreen and no did have a cab but no windows, and in the pouring rain, like 5 tonne a bucket, and so it was all guess loading.
All the ichrometer.
Ichrometer. So we used to weigh our loads in at Progress Transport's yard at Pew Pew. So we'd guess load, and that's 9 kilometres, and you go in there and you're either underloaded or overloaded. It was never perfect, but mainly overloaded.
Yeah. In those days, you got less trouble if you're a bit over than a bit under.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, the old Toledo scales were pretty good because you could put your hand around the back of them and you could make up your load if you were underloaded, or you could take a bit off if you're overloaded.
I love it. Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Now, the spoiler was called the spoiler because it had a Spicer spoiler gearbox in it, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
How did that go for you?
It didn't go that well. It wasn't a good gearbox. It could never change cleanly, no matter how hard you tried. So I don't know. It had only done about 30,000 k when we tossed it out and put a 13-speed Road Ranger in.
Oh, okay, you did. Yeah.
No, it was just a disaster.
Excellent.
And I thought it was me, so I let somebody else have a drive and say, "You drive this truck and see how you go." And everybody else that had a turn in it, they couldn't drive it and change gears cleanly.
So you must have felt really good at that point.
Well, yeah, it made me feel better when somebody else said, "This is a pile of corruption."
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And so just for the younger, well, I was going to say younger people listening, but I keep forgetting how old everyone is now. For those that weren't around pre-road user charges, the whole configuration game and pre the 44-ton thing, when they really started to settle the VDAM thing down and start, a 44-ton was the death knell for A-trains pretty much. And so, but you're talking an era of where single drive tractors towing an A-train they were the shit, because you could put 24-ton on those, couldn't you?
Well, 26 tonne.
Right.
Come on now.
Yeah.
On the semi.
Yeah.
on a Class 1 road. Remember,
yeah. That's a motorway, isn't it?
Remember the road down from Cambridge down to the quarry was a Class 2 road all the way.
Yeah.
And we were destined to Class 2 loading, but we would still get 26 tonne on, and because on the tandems on the semi we would lose up 3 tonne when we got weighed up on pit scales.
Yeah.
So that gave us that extra 2 tonne.
Yeah.
Yeah, so different times, but it was actually the advent of road user charges that killed the single drives. A single drive tractor unit became uneconomic.
Yeah.
With road user tax.
So how many of them did you have in the fleet when the axe fell and the government brought in the whole 44-ton ruck and the ruck thing beforehand, obviously well beforehand, but how many in the fleet when that happened?
There were 4 of them.
There were 4 of them.
Yeah.
And so you just had to weed your way out of them slowly, sort of thing.
Yeah, well, it took a while because it just they brought the flag down on the road user charges, and so when the road user charges came in, we had 2 lots of harbometers as well. So we would have loaded hub-on-meters and on the quick hitch, and we'd put the empty ones on when we were empty.
Yeah.
So we're buying empty and loaded road user charges.
Yeah. I think that's called innovation, isn't it?
Well, it's in our book it would be, yes.
And so the first truck though that arrived on the scene in the Kenworth days of the when the rise of the second generation out of the ARIA operation was the Hustler, wasn't it? Which was a 4x2 K model A train.
No, it was the
Power
Game.
The Power Game. That's right. It was the Power Game. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a 4x2 tractor unit. Yeah, I just as I was saying before, that truck was brought into the country according to Ian Hobbs for AG Russian Company, who carted vegetables from Pukekohe down to Rotorua daily.
Yeah.
And they sold out to Direct Transport and cancelled the order on the 4x2 tractor unit, and Ian picked it up.
Right.
And those trucks had Mills Tui aluminium bathtub and body on the semi and trailer.
Yep. Mm-hmm. When was the switch made to TNG?
Oh, that wasn't until we got 101. 101, the KT 450.
Yep.
That was the first TNG body.
Right.
So that was about 1979, 80.
Yeah. Yep. So here's a question for you both. You got two Kenworth sitting in front of you. They're 6x4 with tubs on them with 4-axle trailers. One's got a KT engine in it. One's got an NTC big cam in it. Which one do you want to drive? Yeah. It's
the KTs, they were a good motor, but they didn't last.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Good Jacobs, but nah. I think you'd get more life out of the big cam 400.
Yeah, exactly. Because that first KT 450 was an absolute disaster. You used to have a lot of trouble with the injectors, and Mel had the 350 single drive 97, and he could pass Gary coming up the Kaimois.
And they'd have a 335, 350
against the KT 450, and Mel would run around him coming up the Kaimois. So there was a standing joke because I was driving 103 and Gary was driving the KT 450 101.
Yeah,
and I'd be turning right to go to Napier at the 8 Mile Junction, and Ken would be going over to Rotorua to get the injectors changed. And so if it wasn't for the warranty that Cummins offered on that motor, that truck would never have made any money.
Yeah.
It was his trailer was sticking out of Cummins and Rotorua more days than it was on the road.
Yeah, interesting. And it's interesting you say that because I did a podcast with Alan Tanner a few years ago about the big trucks at Tanner Sawmills, and they had that W model with the 525 in it. Yeah, and he said it wasn't a good truck, like it wasn't the truck they always thought it would be.
Yep.
Yeah. He said it was. It gave its fair share of trouble. So yeah, that's interesting because really popular engine in outback Australian cattle train operations.
Oh yeah.
You know that they're really really popular motor. Righto, so we the thing about the North Island is, I always say about the South Island and physics is physics, but the South Island, if you've got a truck run that's running basically down the east coast of the South Island from say North Canterbury down to I don't know, foot of the Kilmog almost really, and once you pass Dunedin, like even out into Southland, if you stay away from the Alps, it can be quite docile going for trucks. Like that Canterbury Plains goes for hours and hours on but the North Island it doesn't matter where you set out from. At some point, if you're starting at Aria and you're going to Napier or Taranaki, or Auckland's probably your flattest run, and that's not flat by any stretch of the imagination, or going to the Mount, there's something to cross, isn't there? Yeah, so right. He was always on the hunt for more power, wasn't he?
More horsepower.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I recall Peter May saying to him one day, Ian, where do you think that the horsepower will stop? And Ian looked around and looked at the ground, looked up again. He said, I believe it'll stop at around about 800 horsepower. And here we are now with like 770 scales.
Yeah.
So, a guy that was
And he's
way ahead of his time.
He's decades away from that.
Yeah. We're talking 45 years ago.
Yeah.
40, or nearly 50 years ago.
Yeah. And I suppose one of the things, like I say, they go back to that phrase, the younger listeners, but I don't know what that actually means. That could mean someone 45 or under at the moment. But like, that 335 Cummins and 350 Cumminses and 400s and then 475 on the Easy Rider test and 85, like that's big. It was big gear, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we had a saying for the, we spent more time catching up to the slower trucks. We used to call them mobile roadblocks. The stock trucks that were going to down into the Taranaki. And you get a day like today where you've had a bit of drizzle and you're following a stock truck up Mount Messenger, and we would struggle for traction in the shit that was coming out of the crates,
Oh,
we had wheels spin all the way up. Yeah, so...
Because they're not only they're big power for the era, but single drive. You're not losing, like you're only got one diff to drive, haven't you? So what do they say? A diff's worth 10 or 15% or something.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, old leaders of Osborne's.
Yeah.
You cat pass them before you get to Mount Messenger.
Yeah, cat powered commas and things like that. Yeah. And you'd get to even just coming up the Tikawiti Hill, coming back loaded towards the mount. On a day that was just drizzly, we'd be like doing a wheelie all the way up the hill. They just squeal all the way up the hill
and just keep the foot into it. Yeah. Don't button off.
Don't let go. Don't let go.
Yeah, don't let go. Yeah. So, what was your first truck at RMD?
It was old 86. I started on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you came from Alexander's, Because you had a bit of Kenworth under your belt already.
Oh, a little bit. I drove for John during a maize season and a grape season. And then to RMD from there. Yeah.
And what was that? What made the jump there? Was for what were you chasing? Well, was it just the look of the place or the work or?
Yeah, well, the Alexander work was going to dry up. He sold. I went with the feed trucks. And then he sold the feed trucks out to NRM.
Yeah.
And then I think I was been talking to Gary Rorison, and he says, the old fella's looking for someone else. And then I get the phone call. Yeah.
So where were you living at that stage, Ken?
I was at Welcome Bay then.
Oh, yep.
Can you remember your first load, Ken? Because I can.
I don't know.
Yeah, Ken's first load on 86, because Ian asked me to go with Ken on the first day that he started work, and your first load was to Midlands at T-Rail, load of lime.
Was it?
Yep.
Oh yeah, I can't remember that.
From Aria.
Yeah, from Aria. Yeah.
So a lot of yous lived at the Mount, or did yous all live at the Mount?
Yeah, we all lived at the Mount.
So tell us what an RMD day looked like back in then. So you got 7 or 8, 9 Kenworths lined up, or back in those days 3 probably. 4. Yeah. So they were all single drive A-trains?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, we'd do 1 to Kiwi at Morrinsville, or 1 to New Zealand Farmers Fertiliser New Plymouth, or 1 to the Mount.
From
Aria. So we'd start at the Mount, go down empty to the quarry, load up with SERP, and go to one of those 3 destinations. That was when we first started, and then we would have to call up Ian on the way back, or when we got back to the quarry, to find out what our home load was. Okay?
Right.
So all we had then was those the open channel RTs.
Right. So everyone could hear everyone.
Yeah, everyone could hear one. And it would be put a load of lime on and give us a call at Kiki. You know? Or put a load of SERP on and give us a call at Kiki.
Yeah, head north.
Head north.
Head north.
Put a load on and head north.
Yeah.
And we often used to think he'd be ringing Buy Sell and Exchange to try and sell the load. Because
Buy Sell and Exchange.
Yeah.
Well, we reckon that because, you get to Kiki and you say, just give us another call at Cambridge,
Yeah.
And so, give him a call at Cambridge. Oh, yeah, just run that one down to Edgecombe, mate, will you? So we'd do one to New Plymouth and 1 to Edgecombe.
Yeah. And then
pretty big day.
It's a pretty big day. Yeah. And then all the famous in the article that you Ron about if you drew the short straw, it was tip off at T-Rail, and then you knew what was coming next.
Yeah. So that was one day that Moss Schultz rang Ian and said, how soon can I get a load of a couple hundred tonne of lime? And he says, just a minute. He calls me up and he says, where are you, mate? And I said, I'm just at Carapiro. He says, yeah, just drop that load of lime at Midlands at Tyrewise, will you? Yeah, okay. So when I pulled up at the yard, Moss Schultz came out of the office shaking his head. He says, mate, I only ordered this load 20 minutes ago. And that was the load home, that was on our way home in the afternoon. Yeah. And you think, oh, well, this is good. I'll just be able to drop my trailer there and go home. And empty it at Tyrewise, Ian. Okay, he said, just give us a call back at the quarry.
Yeah.
So go back for the third load. So those were 1,000k days.
Yeah. And you're talking 350, 335 horsepower trucks.
Horsepower,
yeah. And roads that have had a lot of cosmetic alterations between then and now.
Absolutely. And heat like we just had this summer, no air conditioning.
Yeah. So, what was the first one? The cool one was the first.
Cool one. Yeah.
Was the first truck to come with a red dot looking thing on the roof, wasn't it?
It was.
Right.
Yeah.
So would Gary have got that new?
No, Mel Carruthers got that new.
Oh, Mel Carruthers got that new. Yeah. So was that another? Was that a
335
A-train?
A-train.
Yep.
Yeah.
But that was W model.
Yes.
Yep. So you ended up with 2 Ks and 2 Ws in the 4 A-trains, did you?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until we got, like we just had the 86 a cab over, and then three W model.
Yeah.
And then from there we got 101, which is a KT450.
Yeah, and that's a 6-wheeler 3-axle.
3-axle.
Yep.
Then when road users changed, it got modified to a 4-axle trailer.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Righto. Here's the next question. You got 2 W model Kenworth sitting out there. They're both 6x4s with 4-axle trailers. They both got tubs, set up as bulkies. We've decided they've got NTC big cams in them because that's the 13 speed or 15 speed.
15 speed any day.
Oh, okay. Yep. Tell me why.
Well, you don't get that sickening overdrive whine.
Yeah.
On 14 speed.
Yeah.
And you're bloody here all day.
Yeah, and you got deep reduction too that gives you more bottom gears.
Yeah.
So I'd go with the 15 speed any day.
And a gear is always a gear, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's in. Once it's in, you know that it's in. It's not could be in.
They're a good gearbox.
Yeah. Bulletproof, really, eh? Yep.
Well, the 13 speed, used to do the back end of the 13. The splitter used to go on them, and our workshop at the Mount was like the F1 pits. So you call up Ian and say,
there's no time for stopping them.
The splitter's missing on the 13 speed. So we just come in at night and
Barry Reid or Graham Goodall.
Graham Goodall, he slipped the back off the gearbox and put another one on that was sitting on the shelf and bolt you up and go away. So there was no missing a load because there was something wrong. Same if you had, with a single drive, you could feel that the tooth had coming off the pinion, and you call them up and say, the tooth's coming off the pinion, right, I come into the night and we'll change the diff over. So she was only an hour and a half, pull the driving head off, pull the axles, pull the driving head off, put another one in, fill her up with oil and put the axles back in and away you go.
Yeah.
So there was no, it wasn't like 2 days in a workshop or anything like that. Everything was fixed, ready to go tomorrow.
I think there's a marginally different approach to it all nowadays. When it,
don't get me started on that.
Come on, don't get me started on that. Ron's just bursting to come forth and say something for the. That's let's have a tyres. That's a great RMD story, isn't it?
Tyres,
yeah,
single drives. Yeah, used to spit the drivers off pretty frequent.
Yeah, well, the story is that if you put a brand new set of front tyres and drive tyres on the first of the month, by the first of the next month you had another set go on.
Shit, is that right?
People wear them out, yeah.
Yeah.
So 14,000 Ks we're doing a month, and you just in for a new set of drive tyres.
Yeah, and stair tyres were reasonably rapid turnaround too, weren't they?
Same. Yeah, same.
And he hung on to the multi-piece rim bloody rag tie cross plies for a long time, didn't he?
Yeah, it wasn't until we got the Eager Beaver, which was Barry Glynn's truck, 105.
Yeah, there was 6 Frankums,
yeah,
wasn't it?
AX, yeah.
Yeah.
Same spec as yours, 335.
Yeah, 335, and it had it came with tubeless tyres.
Oh.
And so Ian, I remember when it pulled up to the workshop, we were there, and Ian says, "Oh, I'm going to soon change these rims back to the split rims." And we said, "No, please just try these. Please just try them," because we knew that.
Yeah.
So he persisted, and that was the change to tubeless, really. Yeah.
Because you went from 14,000 to 50,000, didn't you?
Yeah, that was when Bandags came out, you know, so we would have the old Dunlop tyres recapped and go back on the drivers, and they'd do, you know, 10 to 15,000, 10 to 14,000. And it was when Bandag came out, we went from there to up to about 50,000.
Yeah, which would have made a world of difference to your bloody, that's like a new set of tyres every 3 months rather than every month, isn't it? Yeah. And did he see straight away? Did he go, "Oh shit, we should have done this ages ago"? Or?
Well, he was never wrong, so he would never admit to the fact that we were, you know, a little innovative ourselves.
Yeah, plant the seed so he has it in an hour's time, sort of thing.
Yeah, you plant the seed, walk away, and when it became his idea, it was all good.
Yeah, it was. Oh, then well, jeepers creepers, there's a buddy.
But, you know, the change in tyres really came from when 101 was new. I think I wrote that in the story. It was when we started carting backloads of grain from barley from down in Waipakarau and Hastings back to Harvey Farms at Mount Maunganui.
Yep.
And Gary had taken a load of serpentine down to East Coast Fert, which is now Ravensdown at Awatoto, and gone and loaded the barley. And he was coming back along the Rangitoke Plains when the left-hand front tyre blew out. And so that was okay, because we used to carry the 3 spares, 1 for the truck and 2 for the trailers back then. So he changed the left-hand front tyre on the road, and then he got going, and he came down onto Hickey's Flat, which is just north of Reparoa there on State Highway 5 at the bottom of the Waitapu Hill. Road veers to the left a bit, and the right-hand tyre blew out on the same trip. Gary went across the road, right across the road, and was just hovering over the top of the creek. And so by this time his nerves were on edge, and he called up Ian on the RT, and he says, "You better get me a couple of Michelins for the front of this truck." And I bloody near went into the creek. The old man says, "You're going to be getting a couple of Dunlops, and tomorrow take your togs." In case you do go in the creek.
Yeah.
So that was a changing point. So he had to get a tyre guy out from Rotorua, change the right-hand front tyre, and get it back into the yard. And Gary brought it back into the yard, and he was so distraught. He pulled all the gear out of his truck. He told his old man, "That's it. I'm finished. I'm out of here. You can get somebody else to drive this truck if you're not going to put Michelin tyres on the front of it." And so Gary went home, and this is about 9 o'clock at night. And 11 o'clock at night, Ian calls Gary up, and he says, "Well, you've got a couple of Michelins on the front of that truck." "Oh, that's all good." He says, "And by the way, I'll see you at 3 o'clock at the depot so you can start."
Yeah.
And do another round.
Yeah. Far out.
So that was a turning point for the tyres. Yeah, because it was nothing to get 3 punctures a day. And if we were if we're travelling in convoy and going somewhere, we would be
spares.
You would be swapping spares, or we knew that when we pull up, halfway down the journey, which we had to check our tyres, one of us would have a flat.
Just it would be a given. Yeah.
Always.
And we used to fling those steel rims off down the highway. How we never killed anyone, I don't know, but
split rim,
split rim.
Yeah, a locking ring, you'd be gone.
So you'd have a couple of those in the toolbox.
Well, no. Ian used to buy those by the gross from Ray Vincent's.
Yeah,
a crate of them would turn up. That's how often we split them off.
Oh.
You just hear them go tinkle, tinkle, tinkle down the road, and there's another flat. So
yeah.
The tyres just couldn't stand the heat and the speed. We would
just the rag tyres.
Your rag tyres
couldn't handle the heat.
Fell apart.
The heat and the speed and the
and the horsepower.
Yeah. That's exactly right. Interesting. Like you always say, whenever I talk to you about Ian and the RMD, Ron, and
like you talk about innovation, it was neat in the that sort of comes in at all levels in the company, because you talk about you carried rattle guns that plugged into the truck's ear to speed up the process, and he was definitely about keeping them moving. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, it was like. Well, it's like shipping, isn't it? Like if the ship's tied up at the wharf, it's not making any money. The same with the trucker is parked up somewhere, it's not making any money. So it was about load up and move, tip off and get to the next job.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there's the great, is it, I might be wrong here, you'll correct me, was it Mel Carruthers, the great, about when it came in at 6 months old?
Oh, yes. Yeah. So when Mel got 97 new,
which was the
350A train.
The 350A
350A train,
yeah.
Came in to get its first COF at 6 months old. I think it had done about 112 or 113,000 Ks at the time, and the guy at the testing station said, "Gee, this truck's done a lot of kilometres in a short period of time. Has it been on double shift?" And Mel said, "Yeah, you're looking at both drivers." So that was what was, that's the way it was.
Yeah. An average payload on the A trains, you were 26 tonne.
26,
but that was for a 39 tonne gross, wasn't it?
Yes, it was, but some days it was a bit more.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and there were a lot of some days.
There was a lot of some days, most days.
Yeah. So just out of curiosity, back then, because you think now trucks and all the crap they carry, the saddle, the emissions gear and all that stuff, and everything is a burden that hangs off the chassis, and that's only going to get incredibly worse in the next 30 years. A 4x2W model, 350, 15 speed. Can you remember what the tear weight of just the tractor would have been?
I think that would be about 6.5 to 7 tonne. Because we were permanently attached, you could never weigh one.
Yeah.
Our we had a ball race turntable. We were permanently attached so that the tractor unit, 4x2 and the semi were one unit.
And that happened a lot, eh?
Yeah.
Tanner Sawmill, Thames Sawmillings, Kenworth. That was that tractor semi was registered as a single.
A single item, which I don't think you can do now. So it was just a matter that they were never weighed on their own.
Yeah.
But definitely, like with the gear that's hanging off these chassis today, it's trucks are not getting any lighter tear weight wise.
That's yeah. I mean, a lot of the time with even 50 max now, you're only maintaining the gap, really, aren't you? It's not until you get into 54s and 58s you're seeing any increase in what they can actually carry. I'm just thinking here, just throw like in your fella's era at RMD, or maybe because did you encounter logbooks, or had they not arrived? It was over before. So when you did the Easy Rider test, were you on a logbook then? 85 was it? No. So when did that happen, Ron? When did you're the compliance king, mate?
Oh yeah, you're right. I just drove my own truck for 3 days before I remembered I had to have a logbook. So, not in my time of driving there anyway.
It must have been 88-ish, must be.
Yeah.
Because I remember them coming in. I'd started at Thames Freight Lines and it was logbook free. And so that must... So Ruck was when... 44 tonne was when?
No, road users was first 77?
Yep. I remember that. The purple stickers.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, and then 44 tonne came after that.
It was 84, eh?
By that time I had my own A train, and I got 44 tonne with that because on the back of the dairy factories getting 44 tonne for their milk tankers.
Right.
So that was probably... That would have been mid-80s.
That would, because I remember when I started work in 84, the panic was on to make all the 3-axle trailers, 4-axle trailers. Yeah.
Yep.
And then logbooks must have been 88, 89, mustn't they? 88, 89. Shit, the 80s was a bit of a decade, wasn't it? Or 77 to 88 was a tough 11 years for compliance, wasn't it? You basically went from apart from deregulation and that. Now, there's a whole bunch of stories, isn't it?
Well,
regulation and hiding behind depots and Yeah,
we started deregulation off before there was regulations. So when the day that the Kaimai Tunnel opened in 1979 was the first day that we ever encountered what we now call the Mod Squad. And Gary Rorison called up and he says, "Dad, I'm being followed by a cop." And so Ian says, that's all right, just keep on coming up, because back in those days, they'd pull in behind you and we're climbing the Tyrewise, and you could clearly tell someone was following you because they wouldn't pass you. And he says, just when you get up to Welcome Bay, just shoot through to the right and come around to the depot through Welcome Bay. And so Gary did that and gave him the slip. So that was okay. Next day was my turn. I'm coming up the Tyrewise in 103 and called up Ian, and he said to me, just go home, because I used to park my truck in 15th Avenue where I lived in Kirk and Graham's yard. And so I come along Cameron Road, turned down into 15th Avenue, pulled up, and just got out, got my lunchbox out, and locked a cab and started walking home. And the cop says to me, "Hey, we want you." And I said, "What for?" He says, "Well, where's this load going?" And I said, "I don't know. I've just been told to park it up here. Someone else is going to pick it up and take it to the mount. Or take it to where it's going to unload." And he said, "Oh, okay." So I go up and I could see the truck from my home, and I got up and rang Ian up on the landline. I said, "Oh, those guys are gone now." He said, "I just give it a couple of hours and shoot around and unload, will you? And then do the same tomorrow." So that was the start of it then. Yeah.
So the product, the regulation thing, because this was I'm a bit young for this myself, but like the regulation thing, if you owned the product, you were all right, weren't you? Like if it was your product on your truck,
you could anywhere as long as you didn't tip it off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, unless it was in your premises again.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
150 Ks, wasn't it?
150 Ks.
150 Ks. Yeah.
And nowhere where we went was under. You know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's right.
We could just get to Morrinsville.
Yeah.
But even that was touch and go.
Yeah. But I mean, the stupid part about it is I suppose Tikawiti was the nearest railhead, was it?
Yeah, Tikawiti was the nearest railhead.
So
some of the SERP was taken to the railhead for Wanganui, for KP, and tipped into the railway wagons at Tikawiti.
Yeah.
But then Ian had enough of that, and we started carting ourselves down to Wanganui.
Yeah.
Down through Tamarunui and down the Paraparas.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Paraparas would have been a good jaunt in a 4x2, and when it was slippery.
Yeah. But a papa on the road kept you twitched to the seat.
Yeah. But I mean, you and I have talked about this, Ronu, but like it still comes back to how you drive it, isn't it? Because you got there, you guys got them all there. Like you didn't lose a truck a day because it was a 4x2.
No, not at all. No, they were safe airs. Yeah. Nothing wrong with them. In fact, when you think about what the difference between then and now, I mean, the trucks would be a lot safer as single drives.
Oh, and look at Europe. Look at the rest of the world. Yeah. I mean, the rest of the world seem to keep them. And I've often said to you, and you and I have had this conversation, and we even tried to do a little exercise at one stage, didn't we, of investigating it about, with all of the modern smarts that control a truck now, that like intelligent trailers, and with EBS and all that sort of stuff, you could an A train should be viable again because you can make it as safe as houses.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. And so it's. But anyway, road user charges and vehicle dimensions and mass sort of did come along and change a wee bit, and all of a sudden the A-trains are not much use, and so the arrival of the first 6x4 and 4-axle trailer, and someone came up with the idea of if we make one of these 4-axle trailers, we then have 3 sets of dual wheels of which we can lose some weight on it in the old pit scales, and we've got the ghost truck era.
Yeah, well, when the road users first came out, we were carting quite a lot to Napier then in the single drives, and I mean that really chewed the drive tyres out that run. Yeah. But Mackie's Transport were the first ones that we saw with 4-axle stock trailers.
Oh yeah, and the big yellow Max.
Yeah. The Mercedes, the V10 Mercs, and the Max. Before the Max, and we used to have a beer in the yard on a Friday night, and I said to Ian, like this Mackie's Transport got this 6-wheeler Merc and a 4-axle trailer carting stock down the Hawke's Bay, and I said if we had a 6-wheeler and a 4-axle trailer, we'd lose 7 tonne over pit scales. And he just put his hand to the air and he says, "We'll have one of those." So the very next day, on the Monday, he called Ian Stevenson at TNG and he said, "I want you to build me a 4-axle trailer." To which Ian replied, "We don't make 4-axle trailers, we only make 3-axle trailers." Well, Ian says, "I want a 4-axle trailer." "Well, we don't make them." He said, "Well, I'll find someone that will." the day after, Ian Stevenson rang back and said to Ian, yes, well, we'll build you a 4-axle trailer, but there'll be no warranty on it. So that was, he said, when can you start?
When can you start? Yeah. Interesting.
So then he bought the 103 and TNG put the body in. That was the first 4-axle tipping trailer with a bathtub body on it that hit the road.
Yeah.
And
and that was the Hustler. Yes.
Yeah.
And it was, isn't it? Like it's really like going back to the truck's name thing, and it might have sounded a bit weird about like when I brought up the truck name thing before we got going, but now that we're sort of into the interview a wee bit, like so did he name the trucks as a rule?
Yeah, I think he came up with most of the names. Yeah,
because the trucks names, if you line them all up in sequential order, and like tell the company story, you know, like the Power Game as being the truck after the fall and rise, you know, and like it's, you know, like businesses all deals and you can be here tomorrow and gone today and here tomorrow and all that sort of thing, you know, like it's sort of, and then you have obviously the Spoiler because it had the spice, of the Cool One because it had the air conditioning, the Hustler because it was a ghost truck, you know, it's like it's a, you know what I mean, it's got more on than what you think, you know, there's more than what meets the eye, you know, and it and like the Easy Rider, like, you know, the big. That
was with torsion bar suspension.
Torsion bar suspension, yeah. And so, like, he's telling, if you look at the trucks' names, he's telling you the story as the trucks are coming along, which is, I thought, it's really, really, and there was nothing as a young kid in the 70s and then growing up and then seeing it all unfold before your eyes. And there'll be so many in my situation like this that are listening to this, you know, the site, RMD was one of those companies when you saw an RMD truck, your day was made. Like it was, you guys are out there in windowless loaders and shitty serpentine quarries and working endless hours and that. But for people watching from the outside, like to see an Alexander Grain truck or an RMD truck, or it was just, you know, it was all, you know, to see the two Kenworth Aerodynes that combined, or the Murray Yeoman. You know, if you went out on a family outing and you saw one of those brands, that was, your holiday was made, you know.
And we're talking about the 70s. This is before water blasters were invented. So you know, a Saturday would be 6 hours to wash a unit with a hose and a brush and
you had to do cabs every night, regardless.
Cabs every night, and the whole unit once a week. Yep. And inside and out. So it was, you know. And Saturday was a day where you just wanted to, you know, have a bit of time off, but a big day to clean your truck up and have it ready for Monday and have it all lined up, ready to go out again on Monday morning by 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning whenever we started.
Yeah. So normal start time was?
Anywhere between 3 and 5 a.m.
Yep.
Mainly 3.
And the day that you got jammed up the hill at Teapookie, you got to sleep until 5.
Well, you can that night we were carting lime out to the back of Teapookie up to an airstrip.
With Alexander's then, I was listening to you guys.
You're listening to us.
On the same RT channel.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there was 3, there must have been Lee, Mel and I, and we just taking our semis up to this airstrip with lime.
Yeah.
And, of course, we ended up with 3 tractors hooked together just to tow the semi into the bin, because we wouldn't give in till we got it in the bin. You know, like we wouldn't tip it off halfway down the track. We got in, so we're coming down number 1 road about 11 o'clock at night after we finally got the 3 trucks unloaded. Call Ian up, because it didn't matter what time of the day or night it was. If you heard that RT click, or you know he was right there waiting for the call, or if the phone rang, it would only ring twice.
Yep.
Don't matter what time of the day it was, and. He says, just have a bit of a sleep in the morning, boys, and leave at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
And we're still not home yet.
That's it, yeah. So was that, it seemed to be a great place of camaraderie, like that, hooking each other up together and to get
get the job done. Yeah.
We've been in places where we should never have had trucks, I can tell you. No, you know, doing the farm work, because when he got onto the supplying the ag lime, so the model was supply and deliver. There was no one else came into the quarry except for the RMD trucks, and so if there was a lime in quarry, we would cart it to wherever. Yeah, so we did a lot of lime down into Galatea, a lot up into the Waikato, Taranaki, Patitonga. So it was quite often we'd we'd go empty down to the quarry. You have to leave at 3 a.m. in the morning, load up with lime, go down one to Galatea and one home.
Yeah.
Even one back to Edgecombe. That was a big day's work.
Yeah.
Back then, going through the Bennydale Road, it was still gravel.
Oh,
we would only have to crawl through there in the low range, because if you went any faster, you'd end up with more flat tyres and tyres that were pumped up.
Real sharp crushed metal on it.
Oh, yeah.
You stopped at the end of it and got your screwdriver out and dug them out of your tyres to go forward a bit to get the bit that's underneath.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
Dig the stones out.
All adds, yeah. And it's really interesting when you talk about all of that, and that truck had still done 113,000 Ks when he took it in for servicing when it was 6 months old. Hey, like there's hours in there, there's there's hours and hours of work in there.
Yep.
So by the time Easy Rider test came along, that's Highway 30 would have been sealed all the way through to Artamiri, wouldn't it? Or was it still a bit? Yeah.
Would have been about then.
Yeah.
It was 85, wouldn't it?
Yeah, 85. Yeah. So, so Ken, your journey is cab over A-train 4x2 A-train, then W model 4x2 A-train, or did you go?
Yeah, I had 97 after Rob Scott.
Yeah, Rob Scott got onto a...
He
got
107.
107,
Yeah.
So that was the KT motor?
That was a KT, yeah.
Yeah. So KT engine into a single drive truck?
No.
No. So that was truck and trailer?
That was, truck and 4-axle.
Truck and 4-axle, Yep.
Yeah. And from there, 97, and then I had 101.
Which was?
The KT.
Oh, yeah.
And then that one, 475, yeah.
So can you remember what month that the John and Trev come to do that test? Was that like in springtime or?
Oh, I can't
remember.
No.
Yeah. Yep. So that was a empty to Aria, load of serpentine to Awatoto.
No, that was down to Hartuma.
Oh, it was too at Waipaka Railway. Yeah.
And then a load of barley out of Waipak.
Yeah.
Back to the mount.
Back to the mount.
Yeah. Fantastic when you're reading those old magazines and you look at those pages, it's got nothing to do with the story and that, but like the chain and rigging advert had the girl in the bikini sitting on the pile of chain, and and some of the adverts in the back of the book were slightly, But one of the bits in the story that like really always make you you think, oh God, imagine if you printed that now. It'd be like when you're talking about how well the Kenworth goes, and I think it was John would have written it. I suppose John Addison would have written that, and he was saying about you saying it goes, it's at its easiest, most comfortable. Here we go. It's at its easiest, most comfortable at 100 kilometres an hour and 1900 RPM. And but if you put your foot down, it'll zoom up to 110 at 2200, no trouble at all. And I was just, it's a different world.
Different world. Yeah.
Oh, then when a long way to go in a day.
Yeah. That's right. And so not all of it fast. So that truck would have come shod with tubeless, and she was the real deal from the get go.
Yeah. It was still on artilleries, that one. But yeah, they were tubeless.
Yeah. Well, nothing wrong with artilleries, isn't it? Like, buddy. So for all of us that read it and still read it on a regular basis, every time we're flicking through the magazines, you'll always stop at the Ken Forsythe test and have another quick glance through it. So how long did you end up, because none of us know all the rest of the story, how long did you end up staying on Easy Rider? How old,
I don't know. I suppose I drove it for 3 years.
3 years?
Yeah, then came and worked with us,
Yep. So and you would 3 years, so that would have been 500,000 on it, just over half?
Probably was. I honestly can't remember.
And just doing all of that same work, that Aria.
Same thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, what people don't realise too is that when we'd start like 3 a.m, out of Tauranga, you get to the top of the Kaimais and get down into the Waikato and be fog all the way.
Yeah.
From the bottom from Tipoi all the way down to the quarry.
Yep.
And if we were doing a double to the mount, like back to BAP fertiliser, you'd be fog all the way down to the quarry, fog all the way back till you climb the Kaimais again, come clear, go tip off, and then go back and drive in the fog again all afternoon.
Yeah.
doing the same thing again.
Doing the same thing again.
Eyeballs were sitting
on the dash.
Yeah.
By the time we got home at night after in the winter doing that, it was just, hours where we would, the most I ever did in 1 week was 107 hours.
107 hours. So it's interesting, because if your day's got 25 hours, so 4 days, and you've got 3 days, and that won't include washing the truck all day Saturday probably.
No.
And so that you've got 2.5 days to try and get as much living, eating, sleeping, and to keep 4 solid days work going.
We'd done our 40 hours by Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah. So, okay, putting you right on the spot, can you remember roughly what that would have... What can you remember? Okay, no, I won't do that. What can you remember the biggest single day you ever did?
Oh, plenty of 18 to 20-hour days.
Yeah, which would be could be a combination of anything, could it?
Yeah, well, if you did one to Napier and one home, one to East Coast, from the mount, go down, take a load to Napier, and then go back and to the quarry empty, and then load up and come to the mount. That would be an 18-hour day minimum.
All day long, isn't it?
All day long.
Yeah.
Yep. And so even one to Wanganui and one home was a real big day as well. That'd be an 18-hour day.
Yeah. So go down, empty load through the Paraparas.
Yeah, down the Paraparas. Get down there about 11:30 in the morning, tip off, get back to the quarry about 2:30, 3, load up and come home.
Yeah. So how long from the quarry to Hewlett's Road loaded, roughly?
About 3.5 hours.
About 3.5 hours. Oh, yeah, cool. Yep. Can you remember?
2 hours empty, from Tauriko, it would be 2 hours empty to the quarry.
Right, and because it's all different out there. Tauriko was out beyond the outskirts of Tauranga in those days, wasn't it? Yeah. Yep, it was almost the first village you passed through after you left.
But even the Kaimais were different then, eh? Like you had the halfway flat and on the other side.
All different. Yeah. Hell yeah.
The only guy that ever used to pass us coming home would be Alf Quaife in the Concorde. Every afternoon he'd round us up.
Yeah.
It's like he was sitting down there waiting for us to come through.
Yeah. So, what about your biggest day, Ken?
Pretty much the same as Ron.
Because you're all doing the same thing, eh?
Same thing.
So you went from in the store, you went from a KT 450 to the 475.
Yeah.
And like a noticeable difference in the two trucks.
Hell yeah.
In terms of performance.
Performance, yeah.
Yeah.
That one, we're sure it was putting out more than 475.
Right. Yeah.
Just the way it went.
And it was reliable?
Yeah, it spat the cam followers out the side of the block one day. coming down the plains in the Taupo.
You had her wound up on the rangatite, and she spat the...
Wound up coming down. I just passed a bus. and just this almighty clatter. Yeah. On the side of the road I was.
Yeah, and the bus went past.
Yeah. Huck McCready come down and towed me home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Remind me of Lee Goodall was going empty up the Tikawiti Hill. I think he was driving 89 because after 86, I think he went on to 89.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the turbo disintegrated going up the Tikawiti Hill, and there was a guy coming down the other way on a motorbike, and a piece of the turbo flew out, hit him on the knee.
Oh no!
Because
that would have been quite warm.
and so Lee pulls up on the side of the road, can't go any further, and this guy on the motorbike picks up the piece and takes it back to Lee, and he says, limping back up because it hit him fair on the knee, limping back up the hill, and he says, I think you've lost a piece of your truck.
Quite a critical piece.
Yeah. And Lee said, well, here are all the other pieces.
Oh, that's awesome.
We got a lot of funny stories, really, like things that have happened, and but we're talking 50 years ago.
Yeah, it's half a century. It's coming up half a century. Yeah. It's when the 6 wheelers and 4 axles came along. So what did you put on those payload wise roughly? Because you guys would. That was when 30 tonne arrived consistently.
No, that's what we put 30 tonne on, whether they liked it or not.
Yeah, but when it weighed up on the pit scales, it would have come out at 24.
Yeah. Well, it weighed in because we would get a $30 fine on the front axle of the truck.
Yeah,
and that was it. And we're just a bit over 39 plus tolerance.
Yeah. And I mean, it's really interesting because you read the story and, you know, people talk about, you know, oh, you know, that was then and this was now, blah, blah, blah. And you actually meant, oh no, it's actually mentioned in the Easy Rider test at O'Toole, you know, it was hard in business then because we're talking like now everybody's freaking out over 8% interest. You're talking, it was 25 to 30% interest, you know, to live in those days. You know, how people on house mortgages now wouldn't have, well, they couldn't comprehend an interest rate that's a quarter.
That's right.
That's right, yeah.
It's like, and yet we lived it. That's what we grew up in. Like, it was, the country was in, it was.
So the heaviest load I ever took to Napier was 38-ton payload.
Oh, that's interesting. And what truck was that?
That was in 103.
Yep.
With the 4-axle trailer. So when they did the hammers up at the quarry, the SERP would get really, really fine, almost like flour, you know. So I pull under the bin and pull the bin open.
So by now you're loading out of a bin?
Yeah, out of a bin, overhead bin.
Yeah.
And the SERP would flow like water because it's really like flour. Yeah. And that 4-axle trailer was water level, you know, by the time I turned it on.
Yeah.
And so we never used to weigh until we got to Napier in those days because they had a weighbridge down there. We never used to bother about going into Pew to weigh because they'd weigh us down there. And I knew by the time I hit the Bennydale Hill that this was a heavy load.
Yeah.
So when I got down there, so the payload was 38 tonne and the 4-axle trailer weighed 38 tonne.
That's all. So that was 103.
103.
So KT motor or
350.
350.
Yeah.
15 speed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What truck name was that? Was that the
Hustler?
That was the Hustler.
Yeah. Yeah, but I didn't do that twice because it was a slow trip.
Yeah. What gear up the Titty Okuras? Can you remember? Probably not.
It had a 15 speed in it, so it would have been deep reduction somewhere.
Yeah.
But that was just what we got away with. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'd have gone over the pit scales that day, well, what we lost would never have saved us.
She may not have hit enough to.
Yeah.
So in terms of, because in the era that you guys drove in, then the cover technology had that. What was it? Pretty much static the whole way through, or there was no in the early wind over covers at that stage?
No, it was all tubes. We used to cut up tubes and just tie knots in them, and you just pull them down with a cut up tube.
So it's get up there, roll them out.
Yeah.
North south covers.
Yep.
Yeah. Where was the first elliptical tarp you ever saw, Ron?
Oh, not till years later, you know.
Can you remember whose truck it was on?
That 525 of Lambert's, old Jack.
Jack, you did it?
He had those rollover tarps on that.
You must,
It would have been one of the first.
Yeah.
You must have thought, well, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Well, that truck that Jack had was actually ordered for Rorison's, that 525, but after his untimely death, we had to cancel it.
Right, and it ended up at Lambert's. Because that was about the same time as the Tanner's truck was coming too, wasn't it?
They were both ordered together,
Was there three in the...
No, Delphin King would only... If one was ordered, Ian ordered the 525, but they would order two.
Yeah.
So two came out.
That was interesting. He was going back to a K-block after a less than salubrious run.
525 horsepower, he was just chasing the horsepower.
He was drunk with horsepower, Yeah. Oh, well, where do we go to from here? So, 4-axle trailers, TNG bodies. The switch to TNG came...
with 101.
Which was the...
KT motor.
Yeah, what would you call 101? What was his name?
I don't know. Clipper.
The Clipper.
Yeah,
the Clipper.
Right, yep.
Yep. Gary got that from brand new.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was just Peter May got 103 brand new. It was mainly we were just operating out of the mount, but then we got Rob Scott. He started with us in Cambridge. He was based in Cambridge. He used to work with Davis's. Yeah, and you came from Davis to us, and then we ended up with two trucks based in Cambridge.
Yeah. Could anything be done with the A trains? Like, was there anything you could do with them when the new rigs came into vogue? Like, could the 2-axle semis be made into 4-axle trailer? Like, there's nothing you could do with them.
No, I don't know whatever happened to them. Yeah.
No. I'd like to know where they ended up.
Yeah.
Because they were sort of not much use to man nor beast, were
You'd
they?
only be able to make them a 3-axle trailer, I think.
Yeah.
And they didn't have big cube capacity. Like 89, we had to build a side tire on it just to help Alexander out. We'd help Alexander's out carting maize in the May season.
Yeah.
And we didn't have the capacity to cut big loads of grain.
Because serpentine was dense.
Yeah. We were just... They were built primarily to cut serpent lime.
Yeah. So it meant the start of a complete fleet transition. Mm-hmm. Can you remember when the last A train ever?
Well,
did
that was
work?
97. So that was built by modern transport engineers. It was a steel body.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. What did you go for steel body for?
Oh, we got convinced. We met Robin Redcliffe over at the field days.
Did you drive it with the steel body?
No. Mel got that new.
Right.
Yeah, we went over to the field days and we went to Stuart Marsden actually in his Mark III Zephyr, and we got over there and it poured with rain as it does sometimes at the field days, and we were sitting under in Robin Radcliffe's tent, and he kind of said, "Oh yeah, no, I'll build you guys an A train." So he got onto Ian, and when 97 came, he got the contract to build the Arctic and trailer.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, and he was convinced he could do it for the same tier weight as an aluminium body, but no, it was a ton heavier.
Was a ton heavier. Yeah.
Yep. So,
It was a prick of a thing when I was driving it.
Yeah.
What for? What
the serp would just stick.
Oh,
steel.
it had a different relationship to the steel versus the aluminium. That's interesting, eh?
Yeah.
Well, no one could probably foresee that. Could they?
It was built.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
It was, and also the floor was so thin it wore out, didn't it? And the body runners filled up with serp and lime and fertiliser and increased the tear weight of it even more.
So is serp abrasive, corrosive, or not? No, just annoying.
Now, once it's crushed, it's quite soft. It's just like egg lime, really.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's different characteristics.
So sort of dolomite-y sort of flavour?
Yeah, similar.
Yeah. Doesn't really do any damage, but just gets everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So with the model of work that you had, so loaded one way home, empty the other way, and big days and big trucks, the trip home must have been quite invigorating sometimes to get the neck when they were running empty, like 470 horsepower, 450 horsepower trucks back in those days doing half their trip empty. She must have been all on for loving the money to get back for the next one. Well, just a quiet nod from both men happening.
Yeah. Well, it was only one speed, and that was flat out.
Yeah,
as fast as you could make them go.
Is that right? Yeah. And that was loaded or empty. Yeah.
Right.
And were they enjoyable years?
Oh, absolutely. You know, I mean, if I had my time again, I'd definitely go through it again. I mean, it was a time of our life that we'll never get repeated, but crikey, I enjoyed every minute of it.
And because they're big trucks doing big work, and like they were living the dream trucks, weren't they? Yeah.
Just so we were young and bloody young, dumb, and full of cum. That's the way it just. And if you mucked around anywhere, you were just longer getting home.
That's it.
Yeah. It didn't reduce the work.
You had to keep your foot up it all day.
Because you owned the quarry and you owned the loader, you weren't never going to miss the load time.
Oh no!
You just, if you're going to muck around, you'll just be longer.
Yeah. You never get home.
Yeah.
But as the mod squad got more serious, like we were followed every afternoon. There was a stage when we had the 9 trucks, that there were 9 mod squads behind us on the afternoon trip home.
What, when you're all coming home?
We started off by hiding at Midlands Depot and T-Rail, but it was too open. And you could see that we weren't tipping off and reloading, because that's what we were supposed to be doing. So Ian was quite friendly with old John Dalton, and we ended up going down and hiding in Dalton Sandpit at Matamata.
Well, that's a good place, because that's very, you can't see anything.
But they got a bit more innovative than we did. They would dress up as linesmen, and they'd be looking over at the bottom of Dalton's pit, up on power poles, looking over with binoculars.
No.
Yeah.
Serious?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
And they could see we were just sitting there having a cup of tea with old JD, and then in the later stages they got a helicopter. You and
that's getting serious.
Yeah. So that made it unenjoyable because every afternoon was just, where are these guys? We were driving, looking in the mirrors. And in the end, I believe that they won. They got at the old fella's conscience, but we, we sort of blazed the trail to where we are now. We helped open up the roads to where they are now because we didn't care about 150k against the rail. We just did it.
Yeah.
No matter where we were to go to.
Yeah. And it's neat that in the story, Ron, in the 2020 story, you say about, you sum it up so well, saying what a stupid time in history when a archaic, half-paralysed government is trying to stop advancement and progress and entrepreneurship by regulating, instead of them getting better, regulate competition out of the game.
Yeah, and one of Ian's sayings to me was, I'd rather spend $100,000 on a bulk store than buy a ticket on the rail.
Yeah,
he was just so focused that he was going to beat these rail guys. And he did.
So it must have been that must have been a great morning of deregulation when the day came when they said, right, 150's gone. Yeah,
big relief.
Yeah, sticker and gear and go hard.
That's it.
Yeah. And there was a little window, wasn't there? From memory, there was a little window between deregulation and logbooks, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was.
There was a really window
only like 2 or 3
between
months.
deregulation and permits, so you could apply for a permit to cart against the rail.
Yeah.
And once you got a permit, that was even more unsafe because by the stage I was in business on my own account, so we get a permit and drive right around the clock.
Yeah.
And get to 24 hours out of it.
Yeah.
So. But then once it passed into deregulation, it just made it so much easier.
Now, that's interesting you say that. That's really interesting you say that because that's when I arrived. I arrived at permit era because I remember getting sent into the post office to get permits.
Yep.
Yeah. So I arrived in that hinterland between a solid 150k and being able to get a permit and then complete deregulation. Yeah.
Yeah, so that must have been around 86, 87, somewhere on that.
Yep, might have been before that because I started March 84.
Oh, okay, we'll be 84.
Yeah, so it must have been, I might have been right at the start of it, I think, because I remember there was still court cases pending for our guys that had been caught exceeding the 150Ks.
Okay.
Yeah. I always remember one of the great stories was in the Thames Freight was the guy that got stopped got like red-handed, like had hot freight on, blah, 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 and it went right through to almost the day before the court case, and the gung-ho lawyer and that was quizzing the driver and found out that the cop had never actually, what did the cop say when you showed him the dockets? So he asked me what I had on, I told him, but he never saw the dockets. Mm-hmm. He never saw the paperwork.
Yeah.
And so that was case closed.
But we were so defiant, that this is what I found out by talking to those earlier mod squad guys afterwards, after all this was over. They would use us for training.
Oh, okay? Yeah.
So they would train on us, and then they would go out to other lesser carriers that tried to do the same as what we were doing, and their drivers would just melt.
Yeah.
And get them.
Yeah.
But we would. I mean, crikey, that we'd never tell them where we were going. You'd have to write a waybill to where you were going.
Yeah.
It was all.
We had a book full of them already made out.
When we were carting that grain out of Waipakarau and Hastings back to the mountain, we used to consign it to Tappers Piggeries at Reparā.
Yeah.
Well, we don't even know where it is. So when we got to Reparā, we'd stop and write another one out from there to Mount Maunganui. Yeah.
And what a colossal waste of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, just wasting everybody's money, time, taxpayers' money, men at power poles with bloody binoculars and helicopters.
Yeah, with their overalls on as though they're looking like guys that were working for the power company.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, very good. So the last truck you ever had at RMD?
Oh, it was 103.
Was 103.
103,
yep.
Yeah.
And Ken?
After 103, Ian took me into the office, and so Ian kind of mentored me to where I am today, with what I do right now. He took me off the truck and put me in the office, and my role became transport manager, and he taught me how to price lime and price transport and that sort of thing. So.
Yeah.
So that's what happened there until his untimely death, and then after that, Gary was not working for his father at that stage. He had a courier run in Tauranga here, and so Gary was brought back into the business by his mum, and there wasn't the room for the two of us to manage a 9-truck business. It was a one-man show, and that's when I left and started my own business.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And how long did Gary stay?
Well, Gary stayed on and eventually bought the business until he passed away some 22 years ago. And now his son and Ian's grandson, Mike, runs it. So, but not the trucks, only the quarry.
Yeah.
Which is now just a Limeworks.
Yeah.
And it's not on the original site. Mike's got the original site as a custom blending operation.
Right.
The SERP is all finished. It's all mined out.
Oh, so the SERP vein's gone.
So the big hole is now a lake.
Right.
Okay. And so Mike bought what used to be Wairiri lime that Progress used to own years ago, and redeveloped all of that.
Right.
And so Mike runs the Riverside lime.
Yeah. And the trucks were taken by the Sherson
family.
Yep,
yes.
Sherson family. Yeah. And huge tip of the hat for them, because they have honoured that brand, that livery and that brand, haven't they? Like they understand the relevance of that brand and the history of New Zealand bulk cartage to the point now where in the February magazine there's a wee article the brand new Kenworth in the retro livery.
Yes.
Like they're doing a lot of retro livery on the trucks, and so I was on the Kaimais the other day waiting for a truck to come down and it went past, and I was just like, what an amazing tip of the hat to what a great era of trucking when it rolled on past. And I wonder what Gary would have thought of 5-axle trailers and 58 ton.
Yeah.
Oh, and
Well, we
would have been interesting
with
to
4-axle, sorry.
It would have been interesting to see what
you can get as much on a 4-axle.
Yeah.
You know, 100-ton order on 3 loads, so that's what used to happen. But no H stickers either in those days.
No, that's right. And so like 100-ton load to wherever it was going to, and that was 3 trucks,
3 unit loads. Yeah.
3 unit loads. Yeah.
Yes, but anyway, those days are gone.
Yeah. And they were loaded with it. Did a weighbridge ever turn up at the mine before it finished?
Yes, not in my time it didn't, but there is weighbridge at both quarries now.
Yeah. But in both your time there was no you still weighed at Progress and
Weighed at Progress. Yeah.
So it was still ichrometer. Did you get good? Could you get?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. You knew what it had on.
Had a rough idea.
Yeah.
You'd be within a half a ton if you were really trying to get it
just right. Yeah.
We knew. So back in those days, we could get weighed up at Tikawiti, or we could get weighed up at Tikawa, or even at QQ. Coming north.
Yeah.
You get weighed up going into at the 3A intersection in New Plymouth, or you could get weighed up State Highway 5 just at the bottom of the Napier Taupo Road.
Yeah.
And when they saw us coming, they knew that it's time to pull us in.
Yeah. So very rarely did an RMD truck get a wave on.
But we remember Ken, this Mary Coppin and Te Amudo on Black Benny.
Yeah.
He would pull us up, and he was too lazy to get the scales out. So he'd have the old 50-cent piece. He says, I'm going to flick a coin. What do you want, heads or tails? So I go, heads. Yeah. So flick it. Didn't matter whether it was heads or tails, you still won.
Yeah.
Where you go.
Yeah.
And then one time he pulled me up on 103, and I knew I had a 33-ton payload, and he pulls me up into Tikawa there, and he says, I'm just going to wander down the back of your truck and have a look around. He said, if your springs look like your trailer's overloaded, I'm going to weigh you, but if they look all right, I'll just wave you on. So he walks down, he's looking at the springs, and he says, righto mate, where you go?
Yeah. And you knew that they were almost inside out. Yeah.
So and you're sitting there shivering in your boots, and oh geez, I'm going to get a big ticket here. But no, where you go.
And so if you had the chance, Ken, to do it all again, would you go back and give her another lash?
Yeah, probably would if I was, a lot younger. I wouldn't do it now.
No, that's exactly right. No, but great era of camaraderie and Maxie's Diner and meeting guys on the road. And
you see someone on the side of the road changing a tyre, you stopped and give them a hand.
Yeah.
Nowadays they don't, hey? Well, they don't even carry spares now.
Yeah.
First thing they grab's the phone.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
We used to give each other a hand. And yeah.
Well, that has been a most enjoyable hour and a quarter. And I think that'll go down very well with the podcast listeners. We'll never see those days again. We'll never of that level of maverick frontiersmanship on the roads. But
so just before you go, so when I started at Rorison's, that was 1976. Okay?
Yep.
So now I've got my own business and my own truck and trailer.
Yep.
And I've just spent a fortnight driving it. Well, my driver's been away. 2 weeks ago, I got a call from Peter Whitaker at Southpac to see if I could take a load of dolomite up to Ravensdown in New Plymouth.
Yep.
And I just said to him, pick me, because I was looking for a backload home.
Yep.
And so back in those days, it was New Zealand Farmers Fertiliser.
Yep.
Since 1976. And magnesium fertiliser ingredient taking.
Yep.
Took a load of dolomite in there 2024. That's 48 years apart.
Far out. Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah,
and
so
you're
I'm still doing now a lot of,
You don't look a day older.
No. I'm not. Still getting over the jet lag.
Still getting over the jet lag. So how old are you, Ron?
Eh?
How old are you?
Oh, next birthday, next month, I'll be 73.
Oh, far, you're just getting in the game, really.
Yeah.
Do you still enjoy it? Do you still love
Yeah,
it?
you're still doing an apprenticeship.
Yeah. Well,
You
trucking
never
it,
stop learning, eh?
trucking it never ends, does it? Yeah. Did you enjoy the 2 weeks on the truck?
Yeah, love it.
Yeah. Love it.
The only thing is the cell phone keeps ringing.
Oh, well, that's your own fault.
It is.
Yeah. You caused that.
Well, and if it doesn't ring, we don't get work. So,
Exactly right. Yeah.
So bring it on, So I went down there. I went down to cartage out of our Manawa 2 store, and I had no backload, but I had fert to cart from Mount View up into Matamau for a dairy farmer client there, and I thought someone's going to ring and get me a backload. So Peter Whitaker rang, so I took that load of dolomite up to New Plymouth. Then I got a load of rock dust out of Jones Quarry in New Plymouth, took it up to our store at Te Awamutu, and then on the way up there, I get a call from Jerry, one of our consultants, and he said, I've got a load of lime for you to do up to Waihi, and I said, it'll be there this afternoon. So I went down, did my runs, got a load out of Ravensdown Fielding, took it back to Mount View, then I went to Webster's and got a load of RPR and took it back to Mount View after the 2 loads to Matamau, and a load of dolomite, a load of rock dust and a load of lime. That was my 4-day round trip.
Everything's changed and nothing's changed.
Yeah.
Everything's changed. What about, where are you nowadays, Ken?
Me, I'm at Swaps.
Yep.
Yeah, been here for, must be bloody near 30 years now.
Yeah.
Long time,
Yeah, and you're off the trucks, you're running you work on the...
Look after the shipping side of things.
Look after the shipping side of things. Yeah.
Stock food and...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the bulk of drivers that come in and talk to you don't realise that you're one of the greatest covers in the history of New Zealand Trucking Magazine.
I wouldn't say that.
Many would. Yeah, the Easy Rider article.
Just, that was a brilliant truck. I still...
So was that your last truck at RMD, or did you? It was. Yeah. And you said it come to an untimely end.
Yeah, after I'd left there, I don't know who the driver was, but he parked at a Tikawa crossroads there.
Yeah.
And it kind of had the park brake on. It rolled down into the service station and caught fire.
Oh shit! Okay, right. Oh hell. Okay.
The whole thing burnt to the ground.
Burnt to the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something I meant to pick up on before when you were talking about so the torsion bar suspension.
Yeah.
Yeah. A mark out of 10 after you'd got out of it after 500,000 Ks. What would you give it?
Oh. Yeah, you got a good ride with it, eh?
Yeah. It rolled a bit in corners, you were saying in the...
Yeah, but they all did that a bit.
Yeah. That had something to do with payload, maybe.
How much of a hurry you're in.
Yeah.
How fast you're taking the corner.
But it was reasonably trouble-free?
While I was on it, I think they had a lot of trouble after I left there. They had to rebush everything and a lot of moving parts.
A lot of moving parts in there, yeah. Hell of a lot of moving parts here.
They had to rebuild the whole thing.
I remember the day when 86's torsion bar suspension collapsed in Te Kuiti and just sort of gave in.
Yeah. Because they're they're a really interesting thing, aren't they? A torsion bar suspension and how they do what they do, eh? Yeah.
But it was pretty good traction-wise and that, getting into airstrips.
Yeah, is that right? Yeah, good traction truck, yeah.
It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, you've earned your keep tonight. You can go home and have a beer and a good meal, and I thank you both for the time you've given the listeners this afternoon. I think it's a fantastic podcast to do on this month, the month that Southpac are celebrating Kenworth's 100 years, doing the New Zealand celebrations, and I was looking for a big Kenworth story, and you've delivered a big story fantastically. Thanks very much.
No problem.
Yeah,
Thank you, Dave.
No worries. Yeah.
Trucking Radio 24/7 and the Keep On Moving podcast. The time is inching ever closer to us. A conference and a get-together and a networking session and an educational behemoth that I think is going to potentially be the most interesting, innovative and informative gathering of the industry at a conference we've ever seen. And that's a big call, but it's very different. It's not the same. It's something new. It's the Teletrac Navman Technical Maintenance and Safety Conference, brought to you by the New Zealand Trucking Association and National Road Carriers. It's in Christchurch, early March. It's, what is it, Carol? It's the 13th, 14th?
13th, 14th of March.
That's exactly right, at the beautiful conference centre in Christchurch. And on the line, as you've just guessed, is executive at New Zealand Trucking Association, our dear friend Carol McGeady, and she is basically just like a one-arm paper hanger at the moment as this thing looms closer. Would that be a fair assessment of the situation?
It would be. I would say swamped is a very good word, because we are sold out of exhibitor space 6 weeks out from the event. So it shows you how what this event's going to be like. It'll be making the conference centre bulge with everybody in it.
Because there's a buzz about this thing, isn't there? Like I talk to people and I say, I really think you need to be at this. Like, I think this is going to be something a little bit different. But it's developed an atmosphere, hasn't it?
It has. And I think it's because we really listen to the industry and what they actually want. So they don't want to be sitting in a conference listening to a boring presentation. They actually want to go to conference and learn something and meet with their, fellow operators and businesses, and of course the important thing of business to business. So I think we kind of hit all those things right on the head with that. We've been really busy working on the program. So between National Road Carriers and ourselves, there's been a lot of work, a lot more work than what people would ever realise, go into what the subjects are going to be and who is allowed to present. And we've been very, very picky with that. So we want to cover off on things that haven't been at a conference in New Zealand before and get the conversations going. So just to give you a wee flavour of it, one of the subjects is navigating a slowing economy and understanding your business costs. That's a core part of our businesses that we do as an association, and that's never been, showcased before on a main stage. Fueling the future, there's a lot of information around about that, but we're going to bring it all to the front stage and have a good discussion and good questions time so that people can ask questions. The improving fleet productivity, shifting more with less. We want to put the spotlight on the NZTA and say, how can we do this with what is available now, and what do we need to do in the future to be more profitable? So there's a lot. There's developing your people. There's a really interesting new section that we're trying, which is an operator's view across the industry sectors. So across logging, family-owned businesses, livestock, port, companies that operate to the ports, and we're going to bring that together to the front stage.
And I think right back at the start, I think one of the things that lit this thing up from the start, like a skyrocket into the night, was when I very first talked to you about it, and you said, at this conference, our singular goal is whatever the subjects are, we want to give people a practical, usable piece of information that they can take home and feel that they've got something that they can then apply to their business. And it
Correct.
Seems to be that is still the big sign at the front of the
that
goal.
Is.
the front of the
number
project.
one.
Yep. They have to be able to
Absolutely.
have something they can use.
Yeah. And number two, so part of what we're doing with that is we're putting up some scholarships to sponsor young technicians, dispatch, health and safety people, all these people that are working behind the scenes that will really benefit from the themes of the conference and the learning that they'll get by attending.
Right.
So companies can just apply to bring somebody, and that they will really make a difference to this conference.
Yeah, interesting. Fascinating. And of course, the school component.
Yeah, that's going a bit crazy now, because with having all the events that are happening during the conference, which is going to be a very busy 2 days in Christchurch, the Truck of the Year that's going to be announced there, all the technology that's really attracting the school's interest. And from one school alone, we have 60 students registered to come to the expo.
From one school alone?
Yes.
That's amazing. And how good is it that they are getting on board and, and I suppose, can we say that there's, maybe this is a little bit of a return on community investment with the safety truck, like you're knowing.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And also our past expos that we've held at the trucking industry show.
Yep.
So we've got a really good track record, and what happens when they arrive is the industry steps up and engages with them, and that's appreciated.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly right. And there's a great thing in there, isn't there? Like a message to the people that are listening that will be going. If a kid comes up and shows an interest, for God's sake, show even more interest back.
Correct. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I'm pretty fired up about this conference. I can hardly wait to get there and be a part of it and listen to it and chat and talk and do my bit. I'm sure you guys are just absolutely over the moon with how it's come together. What about registrations for CAT?
Yeah, if you haven't got a ticket now, you'd better get on and get one, because we're pushing close to sell out of delegates. So you need to do that now. And I think I could probably have a good indication we'll be sold out well before the event.
Fantastic. And if you are thinking, hell, I better get along to this and have a listen, I go where? Eventbrite.
And you can just do it all online, and it's very affordable. It's only $299 for the 2 days full conference programs, and if you can't come for 2 days, you can buy a day ticket and come.
Yep. And of course, I mean, that's another fantastic thing. It's got to be one of the cheapest conferences I've ever encountered in my life.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of the two associations working together, that we can do it at cost for the delegates. So the point is to get the delegates along and make it affordable, but also equip them with all this new information, and it'll be a really worthwhile event.
Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic event. I think it's going to be the first of a new trend, a new way of delivering information to people. And like I say, really looking forward to it. Carol McGeady, thank you so much for taking 5 seconds out of 5 seconds that you never had to give me in the first place. And looking forward to catching up.
I know. Thanks, Dave.
Okay, right. While I've got you there, I'm just going to redo the scholarship thing. Because you went off there for a second, so I'll just lead in by say, talk to me about scholarships at the conference, and then you can go into that as well, okay? Okay, so one really innovative, interesting thing is a scholarship type program you've got there. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so that came about because we want to attract the younger people to the conference, because we feel like they'll get a lot of benefit, and also mixing them with some experienced operators and businesses, it will be really good for their personal growth. So we've put up 25 scholarships that anybody on a full delegates pass can apply for a scholarship and bring along their bright spark that works at their company, whether it's a technician or a dispatch or HR or HS person, somebody who works really hard as a good reward. They could bring them along, and I'm sure they'll go back to their companies with a caseload of new information that will be helpful.
Yeah, and also, hey, it might be someone who's new to the industry who's a little bit trepidatious about making phone calls or reaching out to other people, and they're going to go to this environment and everyone they need to ever know in their career is going to be standing in front of them.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Yeah, great opportunity.
So if I'm an employer of someone who I think is deserving of a attendance scholarship, what's the pathway there? How do I apply?
Yeah, you just email us and we contact you straight away to say whether you've been successful.
Right.
And it's a pretty easy process, really.
Yep. So that's at New Zealand Trucking Association and NRC as well?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. There you go. So if you've got a young, bright spark that's showing an interest in the industry, get on the website and treat them to what will be a fantastic couple of days of eye-opening information and meeting great people. Right.
This is the Keep On Moving podcast. I hope you're enjoying it. It is episode 28. Of course, we've just been listening to Carol McCready read the Teletrack Navman conference. And part of that, Dave, is big announcement. Can you tell us about the truck of the year? I mean, you're deeply involved with this.
Look, I am deeply involved with it, Murray, and it would depend on what you want to know about the truck of the year. There are some things that I just absolutely, I can't actually tell you because we don't know yet. As well, we will know by the time this gets to air, I would say. At the moment that I'm talking to you, we haven't made our final decision, but I think by the time you get this up, maybe not, we will have just figured out through table fist bashing and lobbying and putting your best argument forward, which of the three contenders will take away the gong.
So how many judges are there, Dave?
So how it works is, Tim Giles and I, he's the editor of Power Talk magazine in Australia. So we are the regional associate members of iToy. Charlene Clark is the South African associate member of iToy and incredibly well known to us in our region. So she is there as a critiquer, as the first line of critiquing of what Tim and I have argued about and talked about and thrashed out ourselves, and she critiques the final list that we come up with, and she is an associate member for iToy, but she is a jury member for the iToy Innovation Award in Europe. So she is looking at it from casting an eye of the parent organisation over us, as well as having an involvement in the final decision. And then we bring in two independents from outside our core industry who are involved in the industry in a non-OEM aligned position. So in other words, they don't have a barrow to push. And we have one from each country. We have Randolph Kovic, owner and editor of Deals on Wheels magazine in New Zealand. And we also have a chap called Bob Woodward in Australia. And he has held a number of engineering and technical advisory roles in Australia over the years, including the technical advisor to the Australian Trucking Association. And they then look at the whole thing again from start to finish, and they read the material we've got, and then they fire difficult and probing questions at us.
Okay, and then you come up with a truck at the end of all that.
Well, that's exactly right.
So who's won it, Dave?
You'll have to dig deeper into watching episodes of 2020 and 60 Minutes to actually find out how real investigative journalism happens, Murray.
Okay.
Who won it, Dave?
Who won it, Dave? Right, my interview's coming up in just a moment with Mike Isle. Mike Isle is a full-time writer. Mike specialises on books about the New Zealand heavy transport sector. He is the writer of the original illustrated history of New Zealand truck trailer industry, Riding the Rainbow. And now its sequel's out. Well and truly, it's called In the Blood. He's also ghostwritten several autobiographies as a published and performed playwright and been in advertising agencies. I think you've pretty much done it all, Mike, haven't you?
Yeah, well, I guess so. It's been an interesting career, but I think the highlight of it, and thank you for having me, Murray, I much appreciate you giving me the time, but I think a highlight of that has been working with the transport sector, which I first got introduced to, I think, in the early 90s. And that's been quite a ride, if you forgive the play on words. Riding the rainbow, mate.
So what was the connection between you and the transport industry?
I had a mutual friend that knew a legend of the industry called Kate Bucknell. And Kate Bucknell had her own transport company there, and I was freelance writing, and Kate brought me on board to write her company newsletter. So that was my introduction. And then, of course, Kate has been long-serving secretary of the New Zealand Truck Trailer Manufacturers Federation. So when they decided that they wanted to write the history or record the history of that federation, I came on board in that capacity, and she commissioned me to write that early book, Ride in the Rainbow.
Now, New Zealand doesn't actually manufacture trucks, but it has quite a history of manufacturing trailers. Where has that industry come from, Mike?
When we did Rainbow, we wanted to record that history because there were people still with us that actually knew some of the very early pioneers. What astounds a lot of people is that in terms of our research, the first commercially built truck trailer unit was as recent as 1915 in Wellington, and there's some conjecture about who was the first. There's a couple of trailer builders that are vying for that. But, the first trailer was built in 1915, and there were still people around when we wrote Rainbow, that knew some of those early pioneers. But the real impetus came after the Second World War, when those bigger, highly powered Yank trucks came on, and of course that produced bigger, better, heavier trailers. So where it comes from, well, it comes from Wellington, literally, in 1915, but it really comes from that Second World War, when the whole industry was given a lift by the importation of American vehicles, trucks.
So why is it we don't import our trailers, Mike?
Because we're very, very good at what we do. I wouldn't say, we have a bit of an export trade on things like side lifters, etc., with our good friends down at Patchell Industries. But generally speaking, we produce all we need. We produce to suit the regulatory market, and there's no real need to import them. And also, you have to sort of feel that the transport industry itself, the owner-operators, the big transport companies, being New Zealanders, they like to fiddle with things. They spec their own trailers. They like to have control on their trailers. They like to have that personal relationship with their trailer builders. That's why I wouldn't think at this point or anytime soon you're going to get an overseas trailer builder getting any traction in this market at all.
Am I right in thinking there are probably about 50 manufacturers in this country?
Yes, you'd be right in thinking that. There's been some amalgamations. There's been some startups. Well, relatively few startups of late. But the whole point about In the Blood, in the title of that book, it says it all, actually. It's in the blood. You've got generations of trailer builders in this country. You've got 3 or 4 generations among the Demets, the Patchells, etc. Patchell's got a couple of generations there. But it's in the blood and it's in the family. And while there are fewer trailer builders now than maybe in the heydays of the 80s and 90s, they're more professional, they're more specialist, but the family thing still runs true. It's still a generational thing.
Lots of characters. Any one in particular that stand out? I know it must be hard picking a favourite, Mike.
Yeah, I can name a few characters that are still alive, but I do it at my peril if I mention them. That's, I think, best that could be said about some of those is what happens in Auckland stays in Auckland, and the people I'm talking about know what I'm talking about. But I remember, the Demets, the Manu, Tuanuis, those early guys from the 60s to 70s, old school guys, I would characterise them as. And if I was to have a favourite, I must admit I never met him. He'd long passed when I got into the industry, but there's a guy, Ray Demet, who had a great outfit, and the Demet name is still in trailer builders, of course, and out of Fielding. And he used to, any big truck operator or owner operator that came down was always going to shout drinks at Ray's pub down in Fielding. And he had a party trick, which I got from confirmation of the party trick from another legend in the industry, Inky Tulloch down there in Mataura, who had seen it done. Ray used to go there. He was huge man, big man, strong man. He used to stand next to the door jamb, and he'd throw his arms over his shoulders and grab the top of the door, and just by sheer strength, he pulled his entire body up and over and sat on the top of the door. That's from standing on the floor. Now, if your listeners can envisage that in the way I've described it, that's a massive amount of strength to lift your whole body weight up and over, so you're sitting astride a door from floor level. So he was a legend in the industry, and there are others that I mentioned who sadly passed on, but their stories you featured there. I've featured them in Ride in the Rainbow. In the Blood introduces a new generation of trailer builder, many of whom are sons or grandsons of those early pioneers. They're much more professional, I have to say it these days. I mean, Mane Tuanuis of the world down there in Rotorua, he'd draw a plan and on chalk on the workshop floor and say, well, go and build the bastard. And no CAD, nothing like that. Today's modern builder is, of course, much more professional, and thank goodness for that.
What is it that keeps the families interested? Because sometimes a son is not necessarily going to follow dad's path, but that's obviously not true in the trailer building industry.
It's pride. It begins and ends with pride. And they just want to be part of it. They live and breathe trucks. They have, obviously, from an early age, being brought up in the business. But many of them, and you can see that with the Patchells of the world and with the Demets, etc., they want to carry on the family name, literally and figuratively. That is the family name. That's the name their father or grandfather gave to the company, and they want to continue that name. But there is a genuine pride among those generation of builders in carrying on the tradition of their fathers, etc. And, you know, you might have some that are not even in the company firm that are, you know, for whatever reason have gone into competition with their parents, but there's still a pride in building great trailers.
Now, In the Blood, of course, was written primarily for the industry, Mike, but there's lots of truckies now thinking, I would like to get a copy. How does one get a copy of In the Blood?
Well, the New Zealand Truck Trailer Manufacturers Federation is selling copies online, and you would need to go to Google their website, and it's they have a form that you can fill in online, and you can purchase it directly from the Federation if you wish. New Zealand Trucking Magazine will also, as I understand it, be promoting and have an opportunity for buyers to work through New Zealand Trucking to buy the book. So it's all online at this point. It's an illustrated history. We find that even if you're not a truckie, it's got some interest there because it's not actually about the trailers, Murray. It's about the people that build the trailers. And people are always a good story, as you know.
Always interesting. I was going to ask you a little bit about your time in politics, but I don't think we've got enough tape here, to be honest.
Yeah, well, the politics game is probably the other high point. I started with Norm Kirk and finished with, in terms of central politics, finished with David Longy. So that was quite a road, mate. That was quite a road.
Look, Michael, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you today. Once again, thank you for drawing yourself away from that beautiful Bay of Islands scenery to have a chat with us.
It's been a pleasure for me, Murray, and again, I think the Federation will thank you, and I certainly thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk about the book.
Trucking Radio 24/7 and the Keep On Moving podcast. We've
got a very interesting subject to talk to now, likely a phenomenon that will become an ever-increasing reality in the global supply chain of every single good you can imagine. We're not having a seance, but we are going to start talking about end of life, and with increasing regularity, securing a product in terms of what happens to it after the final use, after the final user has used the product and it's ready to go on to wear. And we're not a great society when it comes to a track record of what happens to our products that we buy after they've done their dash. What to do with waste tyres has been one of the really big villains in that phenomenon, and we all know about waste tyres and transport companies and industry, and that problem is coming to an end as of the 1st of March this year, believe it or not. If you haven't heard of Tyrewise, you are going to hear about it very, very soon, because it's going to become a very integral part of your life. With us is Adele Rose, Chief Executive of 3R Group. The company are tasked with managing the implementation of this government-led, regulated, designed program to reduce the harm that end-of-life tyres cause. And 3R Group will also administer Tyrewise post the implementation phase. And essentially what we're talking about here is a levy that you pay at the time you purchase the tyre that will cover the cost of dealing with it at end of life. How did I go, Adele? In a nutshell, was I even close? Was I even close in all that?
Yeah, very good. Yeah, no, very good.
And this is actually something that industry has been calling for. And if you've read our business update in the February issue of New Zealand Trucking Magazine, the industry has actually been calling for something along these lines for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. So my involvement in it has been for since 2012, but prior to that, the sort of vehicle and trucking sector have been very keen to progress a solution that has a fair and even playing field. So the key thing about regulated stewardship is obviously in the word that if you import tyres and sell tyres in New Zealand, you're regulated to participate. Without that regulation, you have a voluntary scheme, and it's only those who are willing to do the right thing that will participate. So when you have a tyre which is, causes a lot of environmental harm if it's in the wrong place, plus it's a wasted resource, the industry are really specific. They wanted to go for regulation. So they've held on since 2012 to get to where we are today. So industry designed scheme, and you're right, it's government regulated to underpin that design.
And so there's no option about inclusion. You can't opt out.
You cannot opt out, no. There's only one exemption, and that is for aircraft tyres which are imported into New Zealand and exported for end of life, and they're all tracked via their serial number. But other than that, you import tyres that are within the scope of the scheme, you participate.
Oh, that's
Otherwise, you're not allowed to sell tyres unless you do. Yeah.
That's really interesting. See, you learn a little tidbit every day. Aircraft tyres come in and they're exported at end of life.
That's correct, because they're retreated in another country, and then the end of life is managed in that country as well.
Right.
And the reason why they can get an exemption is because it's tracked by serial number. Each tyre has a serial number.
Yep.
Very easy to evidence that you're managing that in another country.
Right. So just to help me continue to get my head around what it is that we're doing here. So Tyrewise is the program. 3R Group is the company who has been project managing the implementation phase, and then will administer the program. So it's a government backed program. So it's not a private thing.
Well, it's a private entity. So so just to explain a little bit, for 2 years the whole industry supply chain worked on the scheme, and it was given the name Tyrewise. That's what the name of the scheme was given. And so the scheme's actually owned by industry, and it's held by Auto Stewardship New Zealand, which is a not-for-profit trust. So they hold the scheme, the ownership of the scheme on behalf of industry. So it's a private entity that owns it, but the regulation is set by the Ministry for the Environment on importing a regulated tyre and operating in accordance with the Tyrewise scheme. So the scheme itself is also an accredited, regulated scheme. So there's a bit of both worlds there. There's a regulation that underpins it, but it is industry-owned scheme held on behalf by a not-for-profit charitable trust. So 3R's role, so we were involved in the design stage, and then we all sort of sat around for quite a few years while things came and went, different governments came and went, but eventually we did get that regulation, and so our role has then been to implement the scheme and then manage the scheme on behalf of industry from the 1st of March.
Right, so you're managing a scheme that has some real clout behind it.
It sure does, yeah. I mean, it comes with, I wouldn't recommend the route of regulated schemes that we've done with tyres, but I think I would still recommend it's the right way for the age and stage that we're at. So you mentioned it in your introduction, how we've had this problem for so many years around waste tyres.
Oh, absolutely.
And inherently in the industry, there's not a lot of trust for each other. And there's also been a lot of really negative things that are done. So I think that's really important that regulation underpins that while we change that and we all learn to trust each other and we're all doing the right thing and everybody can see everybody's doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So you get that fair and even, transparent operating model, and I think we're on the right path.
So the fee in the communications that we've had and read so far, it says that the fee for a standard passenger car tyre is $6.65 on top of purchase price of the tyre. So where does that sort of head to in terms of truck tyres, in terms of a levy, and how was that sort of established in terms of the gradient as tyres got bigger and smaller?
Yeah, sure. So an EPU is an equivalent passenger unit. That is an internationally recognised unit of a passenger tyre, generally weighing 9.5 kgs new. So most schemes set a price per EPU of a tyre, but then they also have a banding in which tyres of a certain range or type of use fall. In New Zealand, we're a bit different because the industry were adamant they wanted the fee to be collected by government. And so the first point of import for tyres, loose tyres, is obviously New Zealand Customs. And New Zealand Customs tyres are declared by tariff item. And so what we had to do was kind of map average weights of a range of tyres within the tariff item, and it's definitely not perfect, and we'll definitely be making improvements. But just to answer your question about the tariff on a truck tyre, so it's not that it's weighted truck tyre times 9.5 kgs gives you the price. It's a band. So I looked up the particular tyre you gave me. Tyre size was a 275/80/22.5, and that falls into a tariff item 411.20.18.09F, which the importers will know, and that attracts a fee of $27.93.
Right, okay, and this goes all the way up to the big motor scraper, earth mover tyres that all the way up. See on these giant machines?
Yeah, it does. So the top rate's going to be somewhere around about $1,500. The current rates published go up to about $450, but that's because there's some more work that has to be done on about 2,000 tyres that are imported at that higher level. But the ones we use all the time, passenger tyres, light commercial, heavy commercial, truck, and large truck, they're all settled. Those rates have all been published.
So, but my push bike and my e-scooter are not quite there yet.
Not quite there yet, and that's because there's not a real common pathway for which bicycle tyres are imported. Not like there are major importers of tyres for, passenger tyres and vehicle tyres, but they're in scope of the scheme. They can certainly be collected and processed through the same network, and it's just that we have technical advisory groups that will start after the 1st of March that will look at what are the pathways and what's a fair fee as well, because you obviously bicycle tyres, not built in the same way that a vehicle tyre is, and they're not causing that same sort of hazard in the environment. So, it needs to attract a fee that's commensurate with actually recycling that tyre.
Right. Okay. Interesting. It's fascinating stuff, isn't it? Like, it's a very it is. And you don't realise that it's an old problem. You think, oh, hell, this should be easy to solve, but it's not. It's tyres are an incredibly complex thing. So collection starts on the 1st of September. It's free from registered tyre sellers, garages, and public collection points. So does the end user bear the cost of, like, if you're a truck company that employs a tyre man, so you're not a registered tyre seller, and so you have to get your tyres to a point to have them collected?
No, not actually. So, so that trucking company would be called a generator, like generate end of life tyres,
right?
And so they became a place that we do collections from,
right? So
they have a login into the software, which they can book a collection just like you do when you book a courier, as easy as that. Book a collection, and then we organise for the trucks to come and collect those tyres and take them to a processor. And if you're a member of the public, so say you might be in this industry, but you work away on your classic car on the weekend or something like that, and you've got a few tyres lying around home. Well, you can take them to a public collection site, and generally that's in the same places as transfer stations and places like that. And you can take up to 5 tyres a time there for no fee.
Right.
So that's that's the only time you would have to transport your own tyre. And also the other thing is what we're trying to do with the trucking tyre suppliers, most of them have call out services. So you break down on the road because someone comes out and changes your tyre. So we're trying to work with those companies to take that old tyre back with them to the yard, because we can pick it up from there much easier than we can try and organise it with the truckie or off a farm or somewhere like that. So that's what we're trying to do with those suppliers, to make it as easy as possible.
Right. And has the general reception been positive? Like, are people, has the general feeling been, this is a great thing, let's get into it and make it happen?
Yeah, over time, right? Certainly not in the early days. It was, this is the worst thing that's ever happened and is going to, ruin us. But there's been a massive shift in brands taking responsibility, for the whole of life of their product, and for large trucking companies as well, sustainability at their core. So big change in the last few years, but I'd have to say not welcomed with open arms when we first started.
But having been in the industry, like, tyre mountains are a pain in the ass. Like, all of a sudden having a system where they just disappear from your yard, to me sounds amazing.
I mean, the really cool thing is, and I know we're going to talk about this, but the really cool thing is that they are genuinely a resource that can be used for something else. And so the market failure problem that we're trying to address with the scheme primarily is to make sure that end-of-life tyres get to where they need to get to be processed into something else, rather than wasted. And they're problematic for people that don't want them in where they're sitting. So it's all about moving them to the right place.
Yeah, absolutely. So does Tyrewise, it's not going to have a fleet of trucks. It won't physically collect. No. You tender that out to people who apply for that business opportunity, and they take absolutely. It to where you designate they take it to, or like where do you decide the tyres go to?
Yeah, sure. So I'll start sort of at the top end. So the scheme was designed to demand pull through. So I'll use Golden-based cement because it's an example that people understand. So they purchase tyre-derived fuel, which is tyres that are shredded to a certain specification, and that those tyres go through as fuel to create heat energy in their hot discs. This is up in top of the North Island. And then they manufacture cement, and by using tyre-derived fuel, it offsets their need to use coal, which has a higher carbon footprint, but tire-derived fuel has a higher calorific value, or heat energy, if you like, compared to coal. So it's actually a benefit in the process. Plus, some of the residue from the heating of the tyre then goes through into the manufacture of cement. So it's not only heat energy, it's also used in the manufacture of the product. So it's a pretty awesome story. And the result is that as an eco cement, a low carbon cement that we've been able to manufacture in New Zealand. But so Golden Bay Cement will take 30,000 tonne of tire-derived fuel a year. So we need to then make sure that that is available to them. So there's a couple of free processors in New Zealand that manufacture to that specification. So the job of Tyrewise is regulated to make sure that every tyre in New Zealand is collected and processed. So our role is to make sure that those tyres in hard to reach places where it's uneconomic to collect them are entering that stream where they can make sure that Golden Bay Cement is guaranteed its product it needs, and that there are processes available to make that product to specification, but then work a lot harder on helping to stimulate the local market for market innovation. So things like civil engineered solutions that are happening around the place. So a really awesome one the other day when we were at a processor site in Cambridge, and they've been working with a company that makes rubber ramps on behalf of the ACC. So someone has an accident, has steps at the front of their property. This company manufactures a rubber ramp that's bespoke to that client's footprint of their step. So you might have a bit of wonky concrete. That rubber ramp is moulded to that step. Once the person's rehabilitated, no longer needs that ramp, it's taken away and recycled back again into another ramp.
Wow.
So yeah, old tyres are used in that process. So it's a product that's manufactured by a processor in Cambridge, which is supplied to a company, I believe that they're in New Plymouth, who make these ramps on behalf of ACC. So it's a super amazing story, and we just want to invest and support as much of that innovation in our local market that we can. So if you think of years ahead, we want to be all of our tyres staying in New Zealand. We don't want them exported.
No, that's right. So just picking up a subject you touched on there, that if I'm here in Thames and I've had a great idea of what to do with old tyres, do you guide me to the government agency that might have an innovative fund that can help me with the R&D, or do you administer the fund, or what?
Yes, there's kind of two places. So one is part of a proportion or percentage of the fee that's collected by government from importers for tyres is set aside by the scheme specifically for that. So there's sort of market innovation R&D, and there's a community-based fund as well, which is about supporting local enterprise in places like Thames, so it's slightly off the beaten track, back of Gisborne, those sorts of places, west coast of the south. So, but the R&D is a really important component of it, because we want to R&D in new products, but we also want to invest in market stimulation for the purchase of those products. So first of all, you would come to Tyrewise and say, I've got this great idea. It might be such a great idea, though, that Tyrewise might co-fund you with, say, the Waste Minimisation Fund, which is a Ministry for Environment fund, and that has an application process as well. So anything tyres related, the ministry would be looking to see, has Tyrewise been involved at all? So it doesn't start and stop with Tyrewise. There's sort of other avenues as well. But we'd be the starting point.
Yep, and then you can point people at. It's quite amazing, isn't it? The more we get into the whole end of life thing across the environment, just generally speaking, we're sort of discovering we've only ever developed half the economy. There's heaps of innovation and economic activity that has just never occurred because it's out the other side of the purchase. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you talked in the literature also about identifying tyres that might have missed the opportunity to be retreaded. So how do you inspect that? Where does that get picked up?
So at the moment, and this does depend on which island you're operating on. So in some areas, the casings that are suitable for retreading are going back into the waste tyre stream. So they're not actually getting to the point where the retreaders can assess them and say, this is good for another round or two. They're going for disposal straight away. So that's to do with the collection and transport system. So what we're doing is working with the collectors of those tyres to make sure that they're set aside and they go a different pathway for assessment by the retreaders and then end of life if they need to, but not making an assumption they're end of life straight away.
Right.
So it seems to be a bit more prevalent in the South Island. That's a problem. In the North Island, there's some pretty good capture systems, but it really does depend on where you're talking, and the scheme has the ability to standardise that and open up the opportunity for more casings to be retreated.
Right.
Yeah.
So before you win selection as a collector, you got to prove you can spot a good one if it's still there.
Yeah, or just so it's not even spotting the good one. It's because those tyres are picked up generally from a tyre company or somebody who specialises in tyres. So it's just about making sure that the system is separating them. It starts from there.
Right. Yeah.
The collectors are not. No, whilst I respect they've worked in the tyre industry for many, many years, decades, but it's actually the case the retreaders themselves that have the equipment to check whether the tyre can be retreaded again. And I mean, ultimately, retreading is the ultimate sort of keeping a product in use for longer.
Yeah.
But I also realise there's a bit of a hot topic as well.
Absolutely.
But it just enables someone to make an informed decision, and then they can move on to end of life if they're needed. That's where they're supposed to go.
Speaking of hot topics, the old cowcocky who for years has gone down to the tyre shop and got half a dozen tyres to chuck on the silage tarpaulin to stop the wind from blowing the tarpaulin away. Is he going to still be able to do that, or is it now, no, you can't have these anymore built, they've got to go away?
No, they can still do that. So that's something that Fed Farmers made some submissions on during the design phase, and in their submission it was to the point that they're not end of life because they're still in use, so they won't be offered up to Tyrewise for collection because they're still in use.
Right.
Just they're not in use as a tyre on a vehicle.
Yep.
However, what the farmers need to be aware of is that when they do that, they're creating a legacy stockpile of tyres, and those tyres deteriorate over time, and the processors don't want them as much as they do want ones that are just recently taken off a vehicle because they just don't have the same value.
Right.
They're often dirty as well. So what the farmer's doing is creating a problem for themselves, creating a legacy stockpile, which won't be funded by Tyrewise for cleanup. So when they do eventually want those tyres to come into the program, then it's a bit of a negotiation process as to how that is managed with them. But for the time being, they can still take those tyres. I guess, if we are really fortunate and we actually need those tyres because there's processing demand for them, then I suspect that the retailers themselves will stop those tyres going off for that purpose. We're some years down the track of that though, but it would be great to see. I mean, other countries are measured by their success of these schemes when they have over 100% of the tyres going into their program because they need so much more. They're actually bringing old tyres from other countries to use for processing. That's a really big measure of success.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And what's your time frame for when do you think you'll get to 1.0 on the tyre collection, like in terms of 100%?
So within 7 years, we're expecting to get to 98%, and 98% is because of the volume that is held over for silage pit tyres and other sort of civil engineered solutions.
So
I think it'd be safe to say 10 years' time. I think Canada has got there after 20 plus years. Europe, a lot of those countries that are 110% of their volume importing from other countries. Similarly, that's around 20 years of operating. So I think it gives us a good understanding of, it's around about that time to get the industry in New Zealand really revved up.
Yeah, and of course you've got a handshake a generation away, don't you? Things like the silage stack thing. It'll just evolve itself into history, won't it?
It will, and I mean, somebody will innovate a really good product that's much better for them to use in tyres and is, stacks up economically and environmentally. And so, you'll see that phase out over time naturally.
Interesting. Well, there you have it. It's a whole new world and a far less wasteful one yet again.
It is.
I never thought that I could spend. I feel like I could spend the rest of the afternoon having a yarn to you about what to do about old tyres. It's like I'm going to be the new most interesting person at the next party I go to.
That's cool.
Yeah.
We need more people like you. It is. It's a fabulous subject, and we're really looking for greater engagement too in the trucking sector. You're big users of tyres, big tyres, and become end of life a lot quicker than a passenger tyre. So we would love to keep conversing over time, and perhaps we check in with you somewhere around about April, May, so you can give us some feedback on what people think, how people think the 1st of March has turned out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I've got a note to also touch base in, like, once collection starts, like October, and just see what the reality, how's life at the coalface sort of thing. So I'm a transport operator, big or small. I've read the articles and listened to the interviews, and I've got a few questions. Where can I go?
So head to the Tyrewise website. There's a lot of information on there, but you'll find there's also a 0800 number, 0800 897 394, and ring that number, and there's any number of people there that can respond to you. In terms of those tyre generators that need collections, we'll be reaching out to those people to register probably towards the end of March, between March and the end of August, so we can make sure that you get collections when you need them on time. We show you how to use the software to book. Right. So, expect to hear from us, and looking forward to talking to people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And just like the tyres themselves, it's going to be a journey, but it's a very fruitful and fulfilling one, I think, from in terms of opportunity and lack of wastage and all of that sort of thing. Adele, thank you so much for taking the time to have a talk to us this afternoon. That's been really fantastic. It does affect you if you're into anything to do with tyres, transport industry. This is coming towards you on the 1st of March. It's a positive solution. It's a good thing. And it solves one of our age-old problems. So get on board and just figure out what you need to do. Trucking Radio 24/7 and the Keep On Moving podcast. Last month on episode 27, we talked to Billy Clemens, and he's the project and policy manager at Ia'ara Aotearoa Transporting New Zealand, and he is heading up the Diversity Toolbox program, which comes under the overarching cloud of the Diversity program, which is also sitting under the Te Ara Ki Tua Road to Success program, and they are all about, that whole thing is all about getting people into an industry that desperately needs people. Part of the Diversity Toolbox is recruiting diversity champions around the country in the industry to help push the message, because we are an industry that, even in these sort of times of, I suppose, in some areas, reduced economic activity, we're still desperately short of good people, and there are a lot of good people out there who, A, we don't know about, and B, they don't really know about us. And on the line from the paradise that is Renwick, which is in the grapevine capital of the South Island in Marlborough, is Jack Smith, Managing Director and co-owner of Renwick Transport, seated in the idyllic hamlet. And good morning, Jax.
Good morning, Dave. How are you today?
Oh, look, if I was any better, I'd be in Blenheim.
It's a beautiful day here. The sun is shining.
Is it ever not a beautiful day in the Valley of Vines?
No, we've got pretty good weather down here, I must say. We are the sunshine country, the town of New Zealand.
So, and you're a rural carrier based in and around the horticulture and rural cartage industries. So how is workforce for you? I'd imagine it's quite challenging because when the vine industry needs people, they probably suck them out of the employment workforce like a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, it is really challenging. I mean, we're coming into vintage. So at the moment, we're in the process of, doubling, tripling our staff because we go 24/7 for the months of March, April. So it is a really challenging time. We do a lot of training, a lot of drivers, either semi-retired or retired, and sometimes we'll get drivers that it's not their daily job. They might be lawyers, accountants, dentists. They'll come away from the job and want to have a break and have a change, and they'll come and drive a truck for a month. So quite often those sorts of people, we have to put a little bit of training into them, some more than others, so they're ready to go for a harvest. So that's how we source the extra drivers for that time of year. But all year round, it's So not too bad.
Like, really, to think about it like that, diversity has many faces, doesn't it? Like, do the lawyers and the doctors and the people that come out of their various offices and cubbyholes do they enjoy it? Do they just love that month a year?
Oh, absolutely love it. Yeah, we have return offenders, as we call them. And they do. They absolutely love it. It's just completely changed. They're from their career. And they find a challenge in a different way. They switch off from their other profession, and they really, really enjoy driving a truck and having a lot of face-to-face, whether it be with other truck drivers, the harvesting crew or winery crew. Yeah, they love it. So
as a diversity champion, which you are a diversity champion in the crew, how did you come by that? Like, where did that connect? How did you end up with that role?
Between John Bond and Neil Reid, they both nominated me for the Diversity Champion. So from there, I was chosen and joined a group in Wellington for a period of a few days to go through the rules of, to how we could help on a national level. So
what does it involve? Like, if you are you able to nominate somebody, and once if they go, yep, I'm in, then what does that mean for them? Like, what's your journey been?
Basically, we've had various catch-ups over the last couple of years when we can, obviously promoting diversity and inclusion into our transport companies and encouraging others. At this stage, we haven't nominated anyone else ourselves. They are looking to regroup and have a fresh group of diversity champions. Obviously, the more champions you get, the more exposure you have out there. But the last thing I went to was a launch up in the North Island with the Alexandra Group, which was really, really good. And that launched the toolbox, which was a variety of different things that we were wanting to promote. But all in all, I think individually, if we can get the word out there, what transport involves, it's not just driving a truck. You've got the accountancy, you've got logistics, you're driving forklifts, warehousing. There's so much more to transporting than driving trucks. It's huge. It's a really enjoyable job, and I think it helps being a woman as well to encourage other women to come into our industry, because we are getting more and more. And as Renwick Transport, we do employ a mixture of female and male and age. We range from the young early 20s and we go through to the late 60s, possibly almost hitting 70 for those ones that are semi-retired but like to come back for harvest or different parts of the year.
Yeah, and I mean, you're a fantastic example, because the whole company is, run by two sisters, so...
Yeah, it is. Jen and I have been really, really fortunate to have been in the industry for a wee while now, and working with our father before he passed away almost 4.5 years ago. So we've done that hard grind. We know what it feels like to come into an industry like ours and perhaps not be accepted at the very start, being a couple of females. But as time wore on, we did all the hard work, and Dad made himself unavailable at times to make sure people did deal with us. And we've gone from strength to strength, and now we have a fantastic rapport with our clients and suppliers, and networking at the different conferences we attend. So we're very fortunate to be in the position that we are.
And isn't it great that, like, how, you know, as history unfolds, like you've ended up a diversity champion when you're actually the result of a diversity champion well before his time. And you know, your dad reminds me of like John and Irene Lockley up here in Waihi, who had twin daughters, and they wanted to give trucking a go, and this is decades ago, and they were like, yeah, we'll show you how to do it. Doesn't matter, you know, who you are. If you want to have a go, we'll give a go. And now both those sisters have fashioned fantastic careers as line haul drivers and also in the office. You know, we've had great diversity champions in the past. We just got to get more.
Yeah, totally. We look at it, if we actually go into primary schools, so we have our little local Renwick school. We try and get down as often as possible, and we'll take 2 trucks right down to the school, and we'll ask the kids to come out class by class, or sometimes they'll come out with their buddy classes, the ones with the younger ones. We'll have a bike and a scooter. The prefects normally ride around the truck, and the kids get the opportunity to sit up in a truck and have a look to see if they can see that cyclist or the scooter. And so they get an understanding of, one, safety around trucks is the most important thing, obviously, for them at that age. But also it's installing in them that, you know, transport trucks is a possibility of a career in time to come. So we love to do that. We love to communicate and teach the young ones that, this is a possibility for them at the end of their schooling career.
And so it's really cool, isn't it? Because the diversity champion role is not just one where, so far, like, you know, you network with transport companies you might not have had the opportunity to network with. It broadens your own horizons as to the potential that's out there, and it gives you the chance to form a connection with your community that you may not have had before, because you can then start forging relationships with the places like schools and clubs and things like that to show people who think that they could never do that or had never thought of it, that here it is, it exists, this is it.
And the other thing we do a lot of is we encourage young people, or young people in particular, because obviously they are the future of our industry, but also anyone that shows a real interest. But we're happy for people to come into our company and a life in the day of a Renwick transport. So if they want to come in, have a look, they'll go with a driver for the day, and they get a feel for the culture, meeting people, and what it's truly like, because people see trucks out on the road, but they don't know until you come and you work and you live and breathe in our environment how cool it is. And they're really amazing people that embrace you and have fun and enjoy what you do on a daily basis. So that's something that we encourage a lot, is people coming in here and having a look for themselves what it's like to work in, or especially for us, a family-based business. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, the more I'm here, you ladies, your blood needs bottling. What I'm hearing,
yeah, most definitely. We hear that quite often, but you know, over the years we've made a really good name for ourselves, because we have, and our father, you know, started it, the culture we've created, because we have such a passion for what we do and we love it. We want more people to feel what we feel every day.
Oh, look, and it frustrates the hell out of me, because like I'm in your camp 100%. Like, trucks have given me every single thing that have rained down blessings upon me my whole life, but I get so frustrated with the, you know, people aren't going to be interested if you don't give them a chance to get in and see what's going on and jump in a cab and go for a ride and see how much fun it is, you know?
Totally. We're an untapped industry, is what you'd call us. Yeah. You know, I don't think people realise how much enjoyment you can you can get out of our day-to-day life. I mean, yes, you've got the hard grind, the sweat, the tears, everything. It can piss you off every now and again. But what the good stuff you get out of it outweighs the hard grind.
Oh, look, absolutely, and especially in your line of work, like the rural. You get to talk to farmers, and farmers are always up for a yarn. When you get the interaction, the talking to people. Truck drivers are the front line of customer relationships. You are the marketing arm of whatever name is on the door of that truck, because you ladies can't be everywhere all the time, and so truck drivers are there's customers whose relationship with a transport company is the driver they know.
Totally. We just celebrated our 30-year anniversary last year, and so we decided to have a bit of a shindig and have a party. And we obviously had our drivers there with their partners, some of our suppliers and our clients that have been long-standing with us for 15 plus years. And it was an outstanding evening, and it just showed how diverse we are, but also how committed we are to our suppliers, our clients, and how proud we are as a family and a business.
And so the type of business you run, like I'm hearing and I've read, and the wonderful story that Millie McCauley wrote in the Little Trucker magazine last issue, it's obviously a company, because one of the key tenets of the diversity champion and this whole toolbox thing is, encouraging employees to speak up and inclusive practices and hiring practices and supporting employees who are neurodiverse and those sorts of things. But it sounds like Renwick's a place where anyone can walk up to the office and with you two sitting there and be relatively free about saying whatever they need to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Jen and I have always had an open door policy. We don't have hierarchy here as such. We're just one of the team. Yes, we may pay the wages and own the business, but our door, you could actually physically see where Jen and I work from. We have the smallest, tiniest little portal-com with all our printers, computers, paper, pens, you name it. Everything is jam-packed into this office, and people actually say, why are you working in such a little, tiny, tinsy office? Why don't you have big desks and have this, that, and everything? But from our point of view, we're happy in our little hub we have here, because the money and the time and the effort we would rather put back into our drivers and our gear. That's more important to us than having a big, flashy office. So that's what we lead by. We've just got an open door here, sliding door, and they can come in and talk to us about whatever they want.
Well, that was like a symphony of good news all around, listening to that interview with Jax for the last 10 minutes. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day, your busy, passionate road transport, rural carrying day to talk about the diversity toolbox. If you want to get in contact with Billy at the Aotearoa Transporting New Zealand about the workshop and the toolbox, it's all on their website. You can get them on 0447182883 and to get involved. And obviously, another program supported by the wonderful folk at Teletrack Navman, who are into everything with regard to boosting the morale, the head count, and the way that we look at road transport as it evolves in 2024. Jax, thanks so much for your time. Fantastic to talk. I'm going to have to come down and have a visit. Like between Millie's article and now talking to you, I'm going to have to come down and have a look.
Hot day, yeah. Thanks, Dave.
Okay, thanks heaps.
It is the Keep On Moving podcast. That's it, episode 28. Man, there's a few hours gone into that, Dave. Thank you.
No worries, Murray. It's always a pleasure, and it's always a pleasure to work on it and put it together with you, and it's an incredible pleasure to talk to the people who we talk to who make up the content. Thank you all.
Any thoughts about 29? Is there anyone in the wings that you want to share with us at this point?
Well, I've got a couple of hot contenders in the wings. It'll just depend on me travels around the country over the next few days, and we've got one more diversity champion to talk to, and so we'll do that. And we'll leave it as an open-ended thing at this stage.
Okay. You never let anything out, David. You'd make a terrible politician.
But I will interview Will Shears this next month without deleting it. Please don't tell him that I deleted it.
No, we didn't delete it, mate. No, it just got lost in the system. All right, beautiful noise. What's this truck? And if I had to give a clue, I guess I could say early February, Dave.
Early February. Why is that a clue?
Because there was a rather big event on that involved...
Oh, I see. But you knew that because you read the pace notes for the show.
I did. So tell us, what is it?
Oh, and before we go there, Muzz, can I just say before the program ends, and this is the current February podcast, can I actually say to you in front of the audience, thank you so much for giving of your time and coming and standing in the wind and rain at the Kenworth 100 years and doing some interviews and a bit of broadcast and collating our little field interviews and that. Thank you, mate.
Yeah, no, my pleasure, mate.
It's your arm for wheels at Wanaka 25.
Oh, absolutely. You wouldn't miss it, Dave. So give us the truck. We know it's a Kenworth, right?
Yeah, it's a Kenworth, obviously. And hey, look, for me, there were two really. You talk about influential trucks that are there, and obviously the first franchise entrance into the country were the 848 Kenworths that went into New Zealand Forest Products, but they were largely unseen trucks to the people. And the first two, for me, and everyone's got their own thought on this, and nothing matters, but for me, the two most influential early Kenworths that turned up in New Zealand were the Concord, which was Mike Lambert's V12 logging truck, and Lenditch's W model Kenworth with a sleeper cab. And it first appeared at a truck show in Auckland, sitting in the corner of the Logan Campbell Centre, and it just had all of us kids absolutely agog in front of it, and it was like the Pied Piper to a generation of young people, and it's the Lenditch W model Kenworth with the K-block Cummins arriving at Mystery Creek and taking its place in the lineup in front of the Mystery Creek Event Centre. That is that recording of the beautiful noise for episode 28.
Beautiful. Well, I think that's about it, Dave. Have a safe February, early March, and we'll talk again soon. The Keep On Moving podcast. By the way, wherever you're listening to this on whatever player, just say you like it, and that will encourage other people to like it as well. Well, until they hear it. See you, mate.
See you, mate.